out of all places, why Aotearoa, New Zealand?
I couldn't jump the border and I couldn't fit through the tunnels. I was crossing the river, turned left, and one of those Polynesian currents, and here we are. I used to be a professor back in Mexico. I have a bachelor's degree in education. I started noticing everybody was getting used to the violence, how normal was for us, like, did you hear that? 50 people died. Oh shit, really? Is that it? The person that you see on the videos, the person that you see on the stage and everything, it's the same person. My wife hates it. That's why I do comedy, because she doesn't allow me to perform at home. When we got to the hospital, my wife, her English, now it's a little bit better, but at the time she was a few words in English and that's it. So I was translating everything for her, what was happening, and the hospital forgot that I was a husband and the father. One of the doctors that came out, she thought I was just a translator or whatever. And she looks at me and she's like, I don't know what happens with comedy in New Zealand, but everybody's gonna be like, oh, that guy. But I'm gonna say it. Yeah, it's very wide, man. Too wide.
Mandate. Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is not from Tāmaki Makaurau. In fact, he's not even from Aotearoa, New Zealand. He's actually from a beautiful city called Tonala, and also the state of Jalisco in Mexico. But right now he resides in Aotearoa, New Zealand. He is a stand-up comedian, also a content creator. And the man has rubbed shoulders with a lot of top comedians. He's done some work and performed out in Guadalajara. Yeah, Guadalajara, and also in Reno and San Francisco. And the man is also has his own show. His own own show called The Mexican Without Borders.
Yeah.
And also another one. Is it Ese Way Parece Isleno?
Yeah.
And so 2.0. And so the man is. He's sold out many tickets in many places throughout Aotearoa and throughout the Motu and Auckland and Wellington and Tauranga and also in Waiheke Island. But the man is more than just a comedian. He's an amazing individual with an amazing story to share. Please put your hands together for our favorite Mexican comedian, mi amigo, Edd Rivera.
Thank you. Oh, man. That feels really nice. That's I almost feel like I'm about to wrestle someone. You can be ready for the fights, man.
Oh man,
yeah, man.
Oh, bro,
you got
man.
the roll. You roll the R, man. That's all the Latinos that are boxers, man. You roll the R, man.
Hey, man, thanks.
Yeah, man. You're ready for wrestling, bro.
Man, awesome, man. Hey, listen, brother, thank you so much for coming out. Also, I know you're a busy man. I know you do a lot of great things in terms of your content, in terms of creating your content. Also, you got your stand-up comedian and all that kind of stuff. But I need to ask you straight off the bat, Uso, New Zealand, and I know we had a bit of a chat just early on. New Zealand, out of all places, why Aotearoa, New Zealand, and what's the rationale behind it? And is there anything in terms of a specific goal as to why you've chosen New Zealand and what you want to do whilst you're here?
Well, I was crossing the river. And turned left. And grab one of those Polynesian currents, and here we are. Now, it's a funny situation. I wish I could lie and pretend that it happened, but no. I couldn't jump the border. And I couldn't fit through the tunnels. So I said, you know what? There has to be a place with people that look exactly like me, because I'm Mexican, but I'm too fat, So I don't fit in Mexico. Mexicans are small, but they're the Filipinos of North America, right? So no, jokes aside.
Shout out to the Filipinos, bro.
I thought you being serious.
No. ¿Cómo está? Mabuti. The whole story goes as I used to be a professor back in Mexico, so I have a bachelor's degree in education, and I used to teach at the University of Guadalajara. And I had a good job. Everything was, I was doing pretty good with my life. But I started noticing how life and around Mexico, everybody was getting used to the violence. I think that was the part that scared me the most, how normal was for us, like, oh, did you hear that? 50 people died. Oh, shit, really? That many? Is that it? Like, it got to a point that it was just too normal, And I said, you know what? I think I I need to get out of this. I don't want this for my future. I don't want this for my kids. At the time, I just had my baby daughter. So I didn't want it. I wanted to give her a better life than everything. And I said, you know what? I need to find another country. Like that's the only way. And obviously for Mexicans, the most common thing is to go to the States. I had a lot of family there, and everybody was telling me, come, there's jobs and everything. But I said, you know what? I want something completely different. I want to experience the whole, I don't know, like I want to feel that I'm actually migrating, because if I go to the States, it's literally going to Mexico. It gets to a point, if you want to eat food in California, you need to speak Spanish, So I said, you know what, I'm gonna look for something different. And yeah, I started Googling best countries to live in, and I remember I saw Australia, and I said, nah, that's too far. I'm not gonna go. That's like, that's out of the question. I don't want to be that far. And all of the countries that I was seeing, they all spoke a different language, like Germany, Finland, all this. So I said, I cannot. It said, if you don't speak the language, you cannot make it here. So I said, you know what? I need to find an English-speaking country. And I heard someone saying Ireland, and I said, oh, Ireland. Okay, let's try it. And I applied for Ireland and everything, and I got so excited. I'm a big Beatles fan. I love all the rock and roll and all that stuff. So I was like, oh man, I cannot wait to live in Ireland and visit, all that stuff. And sadly, as you know, immigration, Mexicans and immigration, we're like enemies. It's like oil and water. They just hate us, bro. And it's and yeah, they said no. There was no chance for me to go to Ireland. And I went back to the list. I was looking through all the countries, and at the very bottom, I saw New Zealand. And I don't know why my brain clicked, and I said, "Oh, that's in Europe." I said, "Yeah. Oh, I can go to Europe." I said, yeah, I'm gonna go to Europe. Yeah, I'm gonna go to Europe. I'm gonna live in New Zealand and live in Europe. Yes. And I saw that they spoke English, and I said, that's perfect. And then I saw, because when I Google it, I saw the flag. They has the British flag. Oh. So I was just like, yeah, man, I'm set. Let's go. And but because I got too excited with Ireland at the beginning, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna make sure that I get the visa, that I get everything ready. And once I have it in my hands, I'm going to start falling in love with the country, and the idea of migrating. So I started Googling, started checking, investigating, and I saw that there has a program. New Zealand has a program for working holiday. And Mexico only gets 200, which is nothing. They literally said that the visas ran out within a minute. As soon as they open it, they're like gone. So I said, I'm not gonna get it. I'm like, it's gonna be impossible. So I said, well, might as well. Let's apply. If I get the no, it's a no. Then I can start looking for another country. And I think I went to I was trying to find the best computer, best internet connection, because they said that was very important for it, and I got it. I went there and I got the visa. I went through and I was like, yes. And then I got a message that I had to pass a health exam. And I said, oh, I'm not going to get excited. I'm going to go through the medical exam. Once I have the medical exam, the visa gets approved, right? So once I have that approval, I'm going to start, telling everybody I'm leaving and this and that. And I got it. And I got past the medical exam and everything. Boom, 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 boom. I wasn't that fat at that time, so yeah, it was pretty easy for me to pass all the medicals. And when I got it, a friend of mine went with me to pick up the visa, and I was just like, the whole drive, I was just bragging. I was just telling him how much I loved Europe and how much I was gonna go to Abbey Road, take some photos with the Beatles and go to Liverpool and all that. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, man, and visit my colonizers in Spain and all that stuff and blah 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 and this and that and blah. And he let me speak for 20 minutes straight, 20 to 30 minutes. And then he looking me dead into my eye. He looks at me and he's like, "How do you get to Antarctica?" And I'm like, that's a random question, but I don't know, by plane? And it's like, no, the only way to get to Antarctica is you have to go through a country called New Zealand. No, of course not, because Antarctica is it's down, like, and I was like, this is not, because it's the North Pole, and I was like, no. I was like, check your phone. And I grabbed my phone and shut myself for like 20 minutes. Luckily, I was wearing brown pants. Yeah, I had the brown pants. So I was like, oh no. And he said, what are you going to do now? And I was like, well, I got it. Let's go check it out. And yeah, I quit my job, everything, and got my tickets. It was a hassle to get to New Zealand as well because I didn't have a US visa at the time. So the only way to get to New Zealand from Mexico was I had to travel from my hometown, which is Tonalá, or the big city called Guadalajara. From Guadalajara to Mexico City, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Auckland. And it took me like a week. So yeah, at the middle of the trip, I was like, yeah, just put me in a container, man. Just
send me back home.
That's how my people travel. I don't care. That's how my people travel. Just ship me. I don't care, man. I'm tired of going through all the hassle. And yeah, I came here, ate a pie and stayed.
It's good.
but now that you're here now, Ed, what's some of the things in terms of, because obviously you thought about Europe, and you would have thought, man, what am I doing here? I made a drastic mistake. But whilst you're here in the country now, what's it been for you in terms of your whole life, in terms of life changing and perspective, all that kind of stuff, and what's kept you staying in this country?
Well, this is a cool story. I was 6 months in New Zealand. Obviously, I worked in construction, so the only way to work in construction is to eat pies and drink pee. So I had already got hooked in the V and the pies. So that was already my first drug addiction that I had. And then I remember one day I was feeling homesick. It was one of those days that it was a little bit sad, and I had one of the supervisors that I had. He was a really old Maori guy, like really old school. He should have been retired by then, but he just wanted to work, and everything. And he comes and he's like, he used to call me muchacho, and. Which is not racist. It's actually how you say boy guy in Spanish, So he wasn't being racist, but he would call me muchacho. It's like, muchacho, what are you doing this weekend? And I'm like, nothing. And it's like, you want to come over have a beer? And I'm like, nah. Where do you stay? He's like, I stay in Mangere. And I'm like, oh man, that's too far. And then he said, no, I'll drive. I'll drive you. Like, we'll go after work. Have a beer at my place. Now I'm like, I wasn't sure, I was like, I think he noticed me, like slacking off or not, like just not concentrating. So he ended up convincing me. We drove to his house, and it was incredible, man. First, he was married to a Samoan lady. So the first thing we got to the house. Obviously, we pay the fee to the gangs and everything to go through to South Auckland. I'm used to it, so I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared. Like, you also pay fee here? Oh, that's amazing. And I was like, oh man, I should move out here. Oh my God, there's potholes. What? You don't have electricity, man? Fuck. This is like Mexico. This is amazing. Man, I was like, oh my God. You even have a dog in the roof barking. Jesus, man. God, I was like, what? It was like graffiti. Oh my God. So we got to his house, and this amazing, beautiful, lovely woman just comes out, and he's like, hello, and gives me a hug and a kiss, and he's like, welcome, have a seat, sit down. We sat at the back. He had a bit of a yard at the back, and we were having some beers, and man, it was like, it felt like home. It was weird. It was really weird because everybody started arriving. All their kids, they arrived. Some cousins, they put up the barbecue, and I was just like, is it someone's birthday? Or like, I felt like a white person, what is happening? Oh my God, what are all these people doing here? Is it a community event? I was like, it's just a fun one.
It's a fundraiser.
Oh my God. Am I safe? I don't want to be gang affiliated. No. And it was weird, seeing all these people, and they're like, no, we hang out on the weekend with this is because he was already a grandpa, so it was grandpa's house, so all the kids, the tradition, you leave the grandchildren with the grandfather, and so the parents can go party, and it was like that, I was like, wow. And they put up the food, and there was the music, and then I stayed up all the way till like midnight. So we were still drinking till midnight. Weirdest thing, they put Selena.
Oh, crazy.
They started blasting Selena and singing the songs, and I'm like, then a fight break in because they were fighting because of, and I'm like, I'm home, man. This is my family, man. Like, all the uncles were fighting because something that happened like 30 years ago. They were like, and I'm like, man, this is beautiful. Like, I was legit like really like I'm home. I felt like that, and to top it up, like the cherry on the cake, like it was just the best thing. I said, okay, I'm going home, blah blah. I'm gonna call an Uber and this and that, and they're like, no, stay, you can sleep, just sleep on the couch. And I'm like, no, I don't want to bother. And they didn't convince me to stay, but the wife comes to me and she gives me like a bag, like a pack and save bag full of Tupperware and food. And I'm like, no, this is, I'm just by myself here. Like, I don't have any family. It's like, take it home. You're too skinny. She tells me that. I'm like, well, compared to you guys, of course I'm skinny. I was like, I look at, how old is that guy? He was like, he's 7. I was like, fuck, he looks 35. And he already had two kids, bro. And
He's gonna beat.
And I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, it was like literally like home, like the aunties, in Mexico, they do the same thing, take the food, we don't want the food here, take it, and I got home, and I literally was on the drive home in the Uber, and I was just like, man, what just happened? Like, I was literally just like, it felt really weird, and I'm like, okay. And then so I'm messing up because I was living in a backpacker house, so I was hanging out only with Europeans and white people, So I felt like out of place, and then I started realizing, okay, so this is not my people. I need to hang out with with Maldives, Polynesians, Samoans, and as soon as I started doing that, my whole kind of like vibe and love for the country. Because that was my plan. To that point, I was like, no, you know what? I'm just gonna finish my year visa, save as much money as I can, and go back to Mexico. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, we're so glad you haven't left. We're so glad that because we see your clips. I've seen some of your stuff on YouTube, and I first looked at you and said, this can't be. He can't be Mexican. He looks like a Samoan. And I see you do some stuff with Usgang and Terrell and all that kind of stuff, and even with Jackie Chan. So, no, he must be from around here somewhere. Whereabouts? I've seen the brother somewhere. But when you start talking, he's actually Mexican. But I'm glad. Welcome, brother. Welcome once again. Because I don't know how long you been living here now.
Legally, that's a very nervous question for Mexican. If I start stuttering and sweating, please. No. I've been here 8 years now. 8 years.
Wow,
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, I already have a kid born here. Yeah, I already lost a kid here as well. So yeah. So that's one of the things that made me decide to stay as well. In Mexican culture, we believe that when someone passes away, the spirit kind of like hangs around where they passed. Wow. So because we lost our daughter here, we decided this is home. This is her home, and this is my little one's home. So we're staying here for.
Oh man,
now, yeah.
awesome, brother. And hey, rest in peace to your daughter. But brother, man, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. Obviously, we see you online and so forth, all these different platforms. And I think what's really interesting, what I really want to ask is, what is the man behind the comedy? Who are you behind the comedy and behind the creative, the content? Who is the actual guy behind all the laughter?
That's a tough question.
Who is Edd Rivera?
I think this is one of the things that I always tell everybody. The person that you see on the videos, the person that you see on the stage and everything, it's the same person. My wife hates it. That's why I do comedy, because she doesn't allow me to perform at home. So it's like I get everything like stuck in my chest, and then I have somehow I need to say all this stupid stuff, and then I go out and say it to the public. But yeah, I'm like that. Like the personality that I have is literally that's me. You know, I think and this is, I think it comes from my whole background. I'm born and raised in Mexico. All my life I was in Mexico. I was adopted. So I had white parents. So my parents, they both look European, if you look at them. So for a lot of people that may not know, Mexico was conquered by Spanish. So Spanish are European, so they're white. You know, they look like, you know. I even had a funny situation with one of the Samoan guys that he told me one time, he's like, "Hey, Uso, there's a Mexican guy over there." He tells me like that. Oh, but he's white. What? Yeah, also, he's white. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, bro. He crack up. He's like, oh shit, Palangi. We're just fucking laughing. It was like colonizer. I was like, oh, colonizer. Also. And so my parents were we're white. So all of my family are very different from me. So I was always like, you grab the family photo and you're like, oh shit, there's something dirty. Oh, it's said, there's like a black spot here. Let me, oh no, so shit, it's it. So I kind of like guided myself into being the funny guy. And I don't know if it's like, it became my personality, or if I was being like that. I don't know. I'm still debating. Like, probably it's more for the psychologist to tell me. But for me, I think because I wasn't very accepted, and I always had like, every time people look at my parents and they looked at me, they're like, oh man, where did they bought him? You know, like, yeah. I always had that face, because in Mexico, this is very interesting, and this is something that it just happened recently. I saw it here. I never in Mexico, we have a problem with money. So when you see a poor person, they're like, you know, like, he's poor. That's there's not much of, we don't see the race problem as you see it in white countries, like in the States, in Canada, even in New Zealand, Australia, you know, where you get that, oh, he's brown, you're like, oh, he's black, oh, like they give you that face. We don't see it over there. In Mexico, it's more about the money. But throughout the time has evolved now to color. Now it's becoming, everybody's like, oh, we just noticed, like, in Mexico, that's the difference between being conquered and being colonized. The Spanish conquered us, so they deleted everything from us. They mixed with us. They didn't let us keep our essence. Like Maoris here, they fought for. You can still, like, I always tell every time I go to this any kind of Maori event and everything, I always tell them, oh man, I am so envious of you. You know, because you still know who you are. You know, you still keep your names. Like for us, my name is Edd Rivera Perez. That's my full name, you know. And Rivera and Perez, those are Spanish last names. Rivera is Spanish, Perez is French. And my name, Eder and Esau, are Spanish as well. So there's very rare population in Mexico that still has those indigenous names or indigenous last names, or they can trace their lineage back to they can't because it's so mixed. It's so it disappeared completely. So we lost an essence of that, and I think because of that and living through that, I always had the face of like people like, giving me the stare of like, this kid, this is not their kid, like it looked like that, like, oh, this kid doesn't belong to the family. So to my comprehension, I said, you know what? I noticed that if I make people laugh, they like me. They like me, and it became a habit. Now it's now I cannot stop it. Even in I always tell everybody, is like, if I say something stupid, I'm sorry, because it just literally I cannot stop like joking and trying to either make people laugh or make myself laugh. Like I always try. I'm even my wife loves and hates that. She loves that I try to make her laugh. But whenever it's a serious situation, I ended up I'm that guy that like, oh, man, why? Just shut up, man. Like you're not supposed to say those things. So even this happened. It was so awkward. That's so funny. It recently just happened. I was I don't know where we were at an event and they asked, I don't know, they were asking some questions and they asked me, what do you do for a living? And at the time I'm a hustler, this is where joke goes. I said I'm immigrant brown, not benefit brown. I say that. Being immigrant brown is and I know it's a horrible joke. And you could see it was so funny because the boys were like, some of the boys were with me. They were like, they really wanted to laugh, and the white people were just like, just keeping me looking at me like, why would you say something like that? And I'm like, don't lie to me. You think about that. but I'm that kind of guy, like I'm always, I think that's my personality. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes I think it's bad because, the people think that I'm pretending, like, oh, he's just trying to make himself like. I've heard it a couple of times. He just pushes too hard to be the funny guy all the time, that kind of stuff. But no, it's me. I've always been like that. Obviously, when it's time to be serious, I try my best. But I think I've never fully accomplished, even in my jobs and I think I've not even with immigration. I've been serious. I got in trouble. You want to have the best laugh of your life. You get whoever's watching the podcast. Go right now into Google and put fat Mexican NZ, and the first thing that is going to come out is going to be my photo. Because
what did you do? Explain to us. What did you do?
Immigration New Zealand didn't want to approve my visa. I was all over the news because of that. I've been in the news for two things: that one and another one. I'll tell you the other one. But the one I was interviewed by I was in News Hub, interviewed by News Hub and everything. Well, it turns out that I'm too fat to be in the country. And when the immigration officer told me that, because I got a letter, you're too fat to be in the country. I called immigration and I said, yeah, you're too fat. I thought it was just my wife joking, just trying to make me lose weight. And I called immigration and I said, no, you're too fat. And I said to the immigration officer, so how does a Samoan do it? And there was like a silence for like 5 seconds. I'm pretty sure the guy muted me and he's like, shit, holy fuck, this guy. And then he went back and sir, I'm going to have to put you on hold for a few minutes. We'll be right back. And he came back and I'm not sick. I don't have no diabetes. No, I know I joke. I say that I have gout and maybe no gout, no diabetes, no, just fat. Like too many pies. And yeah, I was. Turns out that there is a threshold in immigration where if you are certain weight, like overweight, you're not allowed to be in the country. So immigration put me on a diet. They said, we're going to give you a few months to lose the weight. And then once you lose it, we'll give you the residency. If you don't lose it, bye-bye.
What the heck? What kind of policies? What kind of policy is that? Like,
it's crazy. There's only, which is really it makes it even funny because people thought that he was just hooking me up because he's Mexican. There's a Mexican guy. He's obviously now a citizen and he's been in New Zealand for many years, but he was originally from Mexico. He works for the Green Party. His name is Ricardo, and he's the only guy kind of like fighting to change those laws in the government to accept them. There's another case with a Chilean family. I don't know if they had it approved, but the parents are okay, the kids are okay, but they have one child, a 5-year-old, that I think has several autism. So like some like she's autistic, and there's something else with her. And the immigration went like this: okay, we'll give you the residence to everyone, but her. And they're like, but this is like.
This is a family.
Yeah, it's a family. It's just, what are we? Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of cases. There's a Filipino family like that. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna remember later what's the name of that, but it's like a health acceptance a standard kind of thing. Like there's an abbreviation for immigration like that. And people thought that I was joking, like because I said it in one of my comedy shows, and people thought that it was like, oh man, that's a clever joke, like getting in trouble for being fatty with immigration. I was like, no man,
it's the truth.
This is the truth. This is the truth. You can literally Google it, and it's funny because literally if you put Mexican fat, in my face comes.
Hey man, you're already famous. You're already famous here, man. Not only are you a content creator and a comedian, you're also on the news as well, man. So, but did you find it interesting, Ed, that you talk about immigration and then you find yourself on the news because of immigration? So interesting, brother. But
only a Mexican. That's why I said only a Mexican would have problems with immigration.
but since being in New Zealand, you've been here for 8 years now, brother. And so also, what are some of the things that you kind of like, man, kind of like pet peeves, like this is what I don't like about New Zealand versus this is what I like about New Zealand? What is this? There's bound to be some things that you like, oh man, this is crazy. Besides immigration. Well,
and this is where it gets probably my serious moment. This might be almost 4 years ago in 2020. My wife opened up her business. She sells tacos. The first day that we were selling Mexican food, we started selling at the night markets in Papatotoi. And it was our first day. It was June 19th, so literally almost around the corner. And we started selling the Mexican food at the market. We did okay. It was an okay night. The next day we were planning to go to Pakuranga. That was the next on Saturdays, and we kind of like put up all of our savings and everything to open up the little Mexican stall, and we couldn't afford to buy a van, so we had to use our 2 cars that we had to carry everything. So I told her, you know what, we'll do this. We'll load up 1 car with everything, and once we like load up everything, we'll put up all the food in the other car, and then so 1 car stays just loaded, ready for tomorrow, and then the other one we unload all the food and prepare whatever we need to prepare more, and put in the fridge, whatever. Blah blah. Yeah, we'll do that. So it's in Kmart, under the Kmart. That's the market. We started driving off, and the only way, because we stay out west. The only way for us to get to the motorway is through Puinui Road, and we were driving together. So there's a gas station there, and I turned to Puinui Road and I didn't see her. So I said, okay, it's all right. She'll catch up with me. And then I was getting to the motorway, but I didn't see her lights coming behind me. There was no cars behind me, nothing. And I said, you know what? This is weird, like it felt weird. I don't know, I had like a feeling. So I said, you know what? I'll just return and see, maybe she stopped or something moved in the car or whatever. So I did a U-turn, just went back to Puino Road. and there's a higher pool really close to the motorway, and I saw her. A car crashed right in front of her and pushed her on top of the curve all the way inside to a house. So they had like a frontal collision, and she was pregnant, man. We had a daughter, and yeah, man, saw the whole thing. She was bleeding everywhere and everything. We jumped and got off the car. Literally left the car in the middle of the road. People were coming out from the houses and everything. It was all over the news as well. And when we got to the hospital, my wife, her English now is a little bit better, but at the time she was literally like a few words in English and that's it. So I was translating everything for her, what was happening, and I was in the ambulance with her and everything, and we ended up like literally. I think the hospital forgot that I was a husband and the father. And one of the doctors that came out, she's like, she thought I was just a translator or whatever. And she looks at me and she's like, the baby's dead. Can you please tell the lady? And I was just like, oh. Then one of the nurses behind her, she's like, he's the dad, he's the father. And she just gave me the look. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm really sorry. But she kind of like apologized and everything. And this was at Middlemore. And yeah, man, the whole process with the hospital and everything was terrible, man. Like the whole experience was bad, man. Like I was asking why no one's doing anything. She had like 10 doctors around her, and no one was doing anything. And I was just asking questions, and I don't know if the according to them the baby died on the impact, and she got into surgery. They told me she's going to die. Probably there's a big chance that she's also going to die. I was completely alone. So no family, nobody, nothing, no one here. We had our little boy and our daughter. Lucky enough, my father was visiting from Mexico. So he was staying with the kids at home. So he was able to help us with the kids that day. And yeah, man, the whole process that they did with the hospital was bad, man. They literally gave me my daughter by accident. They gave me the body of my daughter by accident on a Tupperware, bro, on a plastic container. They did, like literally. My wife came out from the hospital, and there was a Tupperware on her bed, and I said, "Oh, what is this?" And I opened it, bro. And I was like, gosh. I looked at the nurse, and the nurse was like, "Oh shit!" Like, "I'm sorry, sir." Blah, blah, blah. Then they put her on one of those. You know how when you have a baby, you share sometimes the room with someone. They put her on a maternity area where babies were crying and everything. So my wife was still sedated, and she was like, "My baby's crying," and I was like, it was just like bad. Like the whole process was just like really bad. But this is not the worst thing, and this is where it comes where I want to get there. Justice, man. The justice system, I think, I've always said it. I know everybody has their own opinion and how justice should be served and everything. But to me, the justice system in New Zealand, it's pretty bad, man. Like it doesn't make sense, the level of leniency that they have for people that I know there's mistakes, but there's some people that don't make mistakes, and the whole thing that happened, there were 4 kids driving the car. They were, I think, between 16 to 17 years old. According to them, they fall asleep, which is obviously, I know that was bullshit. They were not sleeping. If you know about physics and common sense, they were speeding. She got pushed all the way to the curve, so that means that one car had to be faster than the other one. So they were speeding. They got into her lane. That's how they, and because it's Puinui roads, it's just one way, so there's no way for her to kind of like avoid them. If she avoids them, she crashes into the houses, which that's what happened. They crashed. The collision was like that, and she got pushed. And the punishment was nothing, bro. He got slapped in the hand. Slap in the hand. We didn't get anything. I'm not asking, give us $1 million, obviously, but we didn't get anything. We barely got a few of because we lost. Obviously, her car had everything from the business. Yeah. So, and it's not about the material thing. It's about, I think, and then this is where the police, she got even shocked when I said that to her, to the police officer, because they said, I said, where's the accountability? Accountability. I'm not saying put him in jail. I'm not saying, I don't. Obviously, when I lost. I lost someone. Someone passed away. But at least remove his license for a few years. Give him a punishment. In a way like that. That his punishment was he had to talk on his school about the traumatic experience that he just lived, and they gave us some cash, which was that was it, and that was the whole punishment. And then I asked the question, what if he was an adult? Would it been different? And they were like, nah. Are
you serious?
Maybe he might have to pay a little bit more.
Wow.
But to the government, not towards us. Wow. To the government, a fine. And I remember telling the police officer, and I said, so the way that I see justice here is that I should wait till I become a citizen, and then I go find the kid and do something to him, and then nothing should happen to me, right? She was like, no, don't say those things. And I'm like, well, that's the only way that you're telling me that I'm going to get justice, because that's the message that you're giving to a person. I told the officer, I said, I come from a country where really bad people are. Really, really bad people. Like, really, you have no idea. Like, you can get all the bad people that has been in New Zealand, and it's not even, that's a weekend in Mexico.
Doesn't even compare. No compare.
And I said, if one of those persons makes it through here, you're telling me that they're not going to get any consequences? Oh yeah, but if something like but that's not the message that you're sending, And you're showing. And I said, I understand they're young. I understand people make mistakes, but there should be consequences, And I think I was very, at that time I was in love with New Zealand. I was completely blindly in love. I remember my wife, she was still not, she was still like reluctant to stay in New Zealand. She was like, maybe find another country. We're too far from Mexico. She's a very home oriented, like very family girl. So for her, being far from her family was really like difficult. But I was like trying to convince her, like, oh no, but New Zealand this, New Zealand that. And then when that happened, I was like, man, I don't think New Zealand is the best country to be in anymore. And it proves. And I even asked, because they said obviously you get desperate and you want to know, like, is it because I'm an immigrant? Because I'm still not a resident here. That's why they're treating me like that. And we asked so many like lawyers and people around. We even contact our embassy, and everybody gave us the same answer. No, that sounds about right. And we were like, you're joking. Like,
that's disgusting.
Yeah, man. I was like, you're joking. Like, you're legit joking. And we couldn't believe it. Like, and like I said, I'm not saying, obviously with the whole situation, as a parent, I said no parent should bury their kids. That's a law. And I said, because they even made us do like those oranga tamariki things where you sit down and they ask us for forgiveness. And I remember telling the kid, I was like, man, there's no way I'm gonna say I forgive you, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, there's no way. Like, you just took away. Plus, my wife, she was in her 20s, So after that incident, bro, she's never the same person. Not just because of the accident, of all the traumatic experience. We're not talking about the mental part, even physical. She's now in a way that she limps when she walks. Now she has a lot of struggle with the whole consequences from that incident. She was she was very healthy. When they looked at her and they looked at me, they're like, man, how did that guy got that girl? You know, because she was a really healthy girl. You know, she wasn't no fat, no nothing. She was perfectly normal. And now after that, her life is never the same. And yeah, man. And the worst part is that it was during COVID.
Oh, not.
So no one from Mexico could come and help us. So we couldn't have any of her family coming over. And no one from my family. We were lucky that my dad was stuck here. He got stuck during COVID. But other than that, it was just me. We had to deal with the whole thing by ourselves.
Damn.
Man.
And yeah, man. And I think that's one of the things that I've always tell everybody. Because like I said, I asked too many people, around. Have you, even they told us, oh, there was this lady that lost their family member like that, and talked to her, and I talked to the lady, and she was like, no justice. And everybody was giving me the same answer. No one has ever gotten justice. And I'm like, man, that's bad.
That's bad.
That's
man.
really bad. And I'm obviously there's a lot of debate with prisons and all that stuff, and I understand, but there still has to be accountability when you do something bad.
100%, Ed. I think people looking from the outside. Hey, Ed, if it's never happened to them, oh yeah, they're probably kind of on that on the same bandwagon. Oh no, that's justice. That's because it's never happened to them. But once it does happen to them, and there's no justice, there's no accountability. Yeah. And then people kind of realize, oh, man, the justice system is not working. No. But not only just the justice system, the way you're describing it, that's disgusting, to be honest. And then you're talking about the health in terms of the medical side of things, of the hospitals.
Yeah.
And you're saying, even whoever that doctor was, just say, oh, the baby's dead, assuming that you're the translator. I have no care, no compassion or sympathy or empathy that, hey, maybe this, even just to how they announce it, let you know, and then you have your child in the Tupperware. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, man. Sad part is that I have photos for everything. Like I took photos of everything. I still have them, and it's very interesting how New Zealand. I have a good friend. He's from Mexico as well. He's a doctor. He's a very good doctor. He's been in New Zealand for about almost the same time as me, 7 years. He was here during COVID, like the whole thing. He applied because there was not enough doctors, and they said no, because it's not the same language. That was the only no that they gave him, because of the language kind of thing. And I'm like, man, Panadol is the same in Spanish and in English. That just doesn't make sense. Man. Like, we say achoo and bless you. It's the same thing. Like, because I remember when COVID happened, I told him, I was like, bro, this might be your way to get your work, because he was working as a phlebotomist and at NC Blood, and I told him, bro, you can be a doctor now, like apply, and he applied, and they said, no, thank you, we're good. And I'm like, man, and then it doesn't make sense. You come to tell we don't have nurses, we don't have doctors.
Wow. And then they decline him.
And guess what happens? That people, they said, okay, well, you don't want me here, I'll go to another country that really wants me. And there's hundreds of countries that are looking for doctors right now. So they ended up losing that opportunity, And I'm like, man, like it just, this just doesn't
blows your mind.
Yeah, it blows my mind. So, me as a professor, man. Me as a professor. I remember my wife told me, she was the other day telling me, it's like, how about you stop doing TikToks and get a real job? She says, she threw me that one. She's like a bit of a shade to. And I'm like, hey, me and Nus are going to be famous, I told her. And I was like, no, how about some real money? We don't want coins from TikTok. We want real coins, you know. And I started Googling like jobs and everything. I'd rather be a labor man. They pay more.
Pay more than a professor. Wow.
I was I was shocked. I was like, man, wow. You know, and there's a reason why ever since I came to New Zealand, I worked in construction. I never changed my role. I recently just 2 months ago, I decided to kind of like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try with comedy and see the whole content creation, comedy, and the tacos and that stuff works out. And I also do tattoos and all that stuff. So yeah, everything that starts with T, tacos, tattoo, and TikToks. so I'm like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try, but it's like it doesn't make sense, like it to me it doesn't make sense. I was like, man, like how, there's a person like studying, that, not saying nothing against construction workers, obviously everybody should be paid fairly, but it just doesn't make sense that people. I remember I had a bit of a issue with my leg one time, and I ended up in the hospital. Now it was it's so funny, man, because it got swollen. And I thought it was gout, and I was like, "Man, this is just karma, bro. This is karma slapping me in the face for saying so many times that I have gout and diabetes. Now I have gout, but turns out I had another thing. It was no gout. But I went to the doctor and I said, "Doctor, my leg is swollen." I was like, "Oh, okay. Sit on the table right there." And I sat on the table, and then I was just waiting for him. I was wearing shorts, So he's like, "Take off your shoes so I can see the hole." And I was like, "Okay." I took off the shoes and the socks and everything. Which one is it? The one that is swollen? So... the other one, this one.
Oh my goodness!
It was a white doctor, so he couldn't tell how he couldn't tell how fat my legs were. But
hey, at least he didn't put it in the middle.
It's so funny because he went like that. I was like, the other one. Okay. Yeah, this is the one that is falling. I could tell. I'm like, man, I'm not that fat. Come on. And we it was. My friend, the one that I mentioned, the doctor one, he was working as a phlebotomist now in the hospital. And with one look, he tells me, "You have a blood infection, this, like that. You just need penicillin." He said like that to me. And I was just like, okay, I have that. And he's like, "Yeah, bro." So he did my blood test and everything. He left. The doctor comes and he's like, "We don't know what you have." And I'm like, okay. And one of the nurses, there was a Filipino nurse, she was running around all the place, and I'm like, "Man, you should need some help." And it was when the whole strike happened with the nurses. So she was like, "Oh, we're short staffed. We have nobody. Like, it's just me for the whole like 3 or 4 like rooms." And I'm like, "Man, I'm full." And then she told me I get paid $24 an hour, and I'm like, 24? That's a little bit above from minimum wage. And I'm like, "You're cleaning shit. You're dealing with sick people. People are being rude, because there was a lot of people like, you're a nurse." And blah, 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 blah. I'm like, for $24 an hour?
That's wild.
I was like, I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, wow, man. And then this is no joke, man. I was in the hospital for a month. Because they didn't know what I had, and I didn't know how to tell the doctors that a guy that takes out the blood just told me I have a blood infection. I just need penicillin. Because obviously you cannot go and tell that to a doctor. It's like, I'm a professional. Who the fuck are you to? Oh, so your friend told you that. So your friend
put the ego in.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, and it was really funny. The only way that I got them to fix my thing, it was by joking. They changed the doctor that I had, and there was this American doctor that came over, and I was in pain. I was really in pain because I had a blood infection, so the whole thing was pretty nasty, and I had fever and pain and everything. And I remember telling the doctor, she listened to my accent, and she's like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "From Mexico." And she said, hola. And I'm like, oh, shit, you're Mexican. And she's like, no, I'm from the States. And I'm like, oh, wow. Right. We started chatting, and we obviously, the first thing you mentioned, oh, we miss the food and blah, 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 and blah, blah. And then I said, Doc, can I be honest with you? And she's like, you don't want to give painkillers to the Mexicans because they're drugs or what? And she started laughing, and I started tracking some jokes about, not giving drugs to the Mexican. And I'm like, I promise I won't sell them anymore. Just give them to me. Like, this shit hurts, man. Like, and she was just laughing, and I was like, oh, you're so funny, blah, blah. And then I said, hey, just random thought. A friend of mine told me that this could be like this and this, and I need the penicillin like that. And she looks at me and she's like, that's actually not that bad. Let me sort it out. She goes out, calls a nurse, tells her, give him penicillin, this, that, boom, boom. I was out the next day.
You're not even joking, eh?
I wish I was.
Jeez.
So the guy that was
they weren't hire.
The guy that was doing my blood tests knew, because he's a doctor, but because of all the bureaucracy or whatever you want to call that New Zealand has with whatever. He straight away, literally he didn't even look at because he couldn't. He just does the blood test. But he's a doctor. He's like, you have that. And I'm like, man, he came back that day, and I told him, hey, bro, they're giving me, I told the doctor, and he's like, oh, you're going to feel better now. And next day I was like, crazy. Wow, I feel so much better. And the whole, the leg started, going back. Well, it was like this, according to my eyes, but it was like, it started swelling, and it's just went back to its size and everything, and like that. Just I was feeling perfectly fine.
Wow.
So I think New Zealand is the way that I see it, and this is going back to the question that you said. I think those are the big bits of things that made me wonder what's happening with New Zealand, or what's going on, or who takes these decisions, who makes these calls, or don't they know that there's, even I have this joke where I said in my comedy, I said when they were having problems with the fruit picking, remember that a few years ago, and I said, give me a ban and a flight, and I'll get all the cousins, and we'll clear the whole country in a week, and fix the problems. There's a lot of solutions to fix the problems, and I don't know. It's just weird, how things New Zealand does some of the things that they do, and this is not, like I said, I'm not shitting on the country, but it just makes you wonder, like, what if we do things a little bit different, with everything, and even with in the construction industry. Well, when I was working in the construction industry, it was the same thing. There I would ask questions that were like, man, it just feels like we just love cones. It's literally, it was like how we started the project. No, but we already put the cones.
You're right, brother. I see a lot of cones everywhere now. Everywhere I'm driving, there's cones everywhere. Like, I come back and then in a month's time, like, it's still there. It's the same issues. I don't know if it's the civil engineering or whatever they're trying to fix, but you're right. There's absolutely heaps of cones. Oh, brother, man, and it's interesting because you say you're a professor, and obviously you look at some of the wages here in New Zealand, and just, man, I don't want to be a professor because the wages is ridiculous, the pay gap, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of how did I become professor and then comedy? Because you're thinking, man, you're highly educated, you're educated man, and then all of a sudden, I'm just going to do comedy.
According to my wife, I'm not highly educated, but I'm very uneducated. It's like, when you fart like that, you cannot be educated. She says that to me. It's interesting, and it comes actually from my teaching stories. Like I said, I was working at the University of Guadalajara, and we used to have like a coordinator or a principal or someone like above us that would come and observe our classes, and then at the end of the class they would give us like feedback and how you did with the class, and if you're teaching okay, and if you're covering all the aspects of the class and everything. So that's how it works over there. And I remember it was always really like nerve wracking when you had like someone observing your class and you're like, oh man, I don't want to make any mistakes, and you're like trying to be as professional as possible and everything. But like I said, because I cannot hide my personality, it's really hard for me to just be, the tough, kind of like really serious. Even when I try to be the angry dad with my kids, they like, hey, like, now my kid knows it. Like, he's like, yeah, I know you're, this is mom, this is not you. You can see my kids telling me that, giving me those eyes. So anyway, I tried to, it was one time I remember I was trying to be like, like as professional as possible, but I couldn't. So I said, if they shit on me, I don't care. I'm just going to do my class how I usually do it, So I started doing my class, blah, blah, teaching that. We finished the class, and the coordinator, big shout out, his name is Isaac. He comes to me and he's like, bro, good class. He's like, I liked it. Can I give you just a piece of advice? And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. It's not a stand-up show. He said that to me, and I'm like, what? I was like, you're very funny, man. You're very funny. Everybody was laughing. I was laughing. Everybody was, enjoying the class. But you're teaching, man. You don't want the kids to think that they're not going to take you serious. And he gave me like the whole, you're a professor, you need to be more serious because you're trying to, convey a message. And if they remember more the joke than the actual what you're teaching, it's not worth it, blah, blah. And it makes sense, what he was telling me. But that word stand up, kind of like stand up. This was 10 years ago of that. Stand up in Mexico, the comedy industry in Mexico at the time was literally a guy on a mic telling jokes, like knock knock was there, like that kind of jokes, or a drunk person enters to a bar. It was like that. It was never a person telling a story and then giving a punchline and all that kind of stuff. So obviously the only experience with that kind of comedy of stand up for me was with American comedy, and obviously being Mexican, I had George Lopez, Paul Rodriguez, Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, or Felipe Esparza, all of those guys, and of course the goats, like Dave Chappelle and Eddie Murphy and all of the guys. But that word, kind of like stuck. It was like resonating me all the time, and I'm like, stand up, stand up, stand up. And then I came to New Zealand, the whole thing happened, blah, blah. And I was walking, there's a big comedy club in the city called The Classic. And I remember I was, because I used to, the convention center, the one that burned. I worked there. That was my first job. That was, I didn't burn it. I didn't burn it. Disclaimer, I didn't burn it. I was already out when it burned. I was already in another project. I helped just to build the tunnels and all that stuff. That was it. That's not a joke. They actually got me building tunnels there. Yeah. Hey, at least you know that you're getting the right person for the job, Yeah, doesn't get better than a Mexican making tunnels, So anyway, long story short, I was walking on Queen Street and I saw the sign and it said, open mic. And I was just like, open mic? And I'm like, try yourself. If you think you're funny, blah, blah, blah. Send an email to Scott, blah, 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 and this and that. And I'm like, should I give it a try? And I was like, nah, no. I was like, but then I talked to a friend of mine and I said, hey, bro, I saw this, stand-up show and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, do it, bro. But what if I suck? Like, if I'm terrible, man, I wouldn't be able to, be on stage because it's 6 minutes. You have to do 6 minutes. And I'm like, I can't, 6 minutes is a lot of time.
A long time.
A long time. Don't tell my wife, tell you otherwise. 2 minutes is enough. What are we talking about?
We're talking about
stand up. Anyway, he ended up telling me, like, bro, nobody knows you here. Nobody knows you. Get on stage. If you fail, no one's gonna know who the F are you. I'm like, hey, that makes sense. And I'm like, it didn't occur to me. Yeah, I'm all over. Nobody knows. I don't have family, no friends. No, yeah, man, I'm going to do it. So I emailed the guy and replied to me. And they were like, yeah, we'll do a Monday night. I'm like, okay, perfect. Boom, 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 boom. So I remember I showed up to the bar and it was a full house that day. It was a full night. It was usually they have full houses, which is good, but it was one of those where you just start hitting your thoughts. You don't hear anything around. So I was just like, what am I gonna? I was thinking of jokes. I was kind of like, but I didn't want it because it said please do bring original comedy. Don't copy other comedians. So I didn't want it to get on stage and sound like, Eddie Murphy, or that kind of stuff. Or say a joke that everybody has heard before or that kind of. So I was just like, oh, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I was just like, and then I heard Edd Rivera. And I was like, oh, shit. So I got on stage and I said, hello, my name is Edd Rivera. And I'm from Mexico. And as soon as I say Mexico, I heard, yeah, arriba, And then the next thing I said, I'm legally here. And as soon as I said I'm legally here, people lost it. They were like, holy shit. And I'm like, okay. And then I said my second joke was, okay, they understand the references. That was another concern that I had. So as you can tell by my physique, I couldn't jump the border. They were laughing, and I couldn't fit through the tunnels. I tried to cross the river, but I didn't bring any floaties, and that kind of stuff. Blah. I was just trying to. Then I started speaking about Trump. I said, Trump was in power at the time, so I remember I said I'm actually a Trump supporter, because he's the guy that got my family reunited in Mexico, and people were like. They were losing their shit. They were laughing really loud. And I was like, oh, man. And then I remember I saw a joke ages ago about Trump's favorite movie. You know what's Trump's favorite movie?
What is it?
E.T.
E.T.
Yeah. You know why, right? Because in the end, the alien goes back home. so I was like saying and people were getting all the references and everything, and now I got addicted, man. Like the rush of seeing everybody. Like obviously it feels amazing when I make my friends laugh and my family and everything, but when I saw a complete room of like 80 strangers just laughing, I was just like, oh man, this is what I want. I was just like, wow. Like it was just like, just blew my mind, and then I got off stage and all the comedians were like, bro, you're like, fuck, how long you been doing comedy and you're funny? And I'm like, this is my first day. And I'm like, no way, it's not your first day. And I'm like, yeah, man. And I was like, whoa. And then everybody was just like, you're funny, son. So all of that kind of like didn't help my ego, just like, holy shit, I'm ready, bro. Like that doesn't, I hate when that happens because I get too cocky and confident. And I'll tell you a story. I did, I don't know if have you seen the movie Coco?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Matewa Media, they started doing all the Disney movies in Tereo. So they first did Moana. That was the first one. Then they did the Lion King. Then they did Frozen. And then they did Coco last year. And I got a job with them. I got to work in the movie with Disney. And it was amazing, bro. It was an amazing experience. And it was funny because everyone was like, man, he got that job because of TikTok. He's a famous Mexican. No, you know how I got that joke? That joke is so funny, man. I saw a post on Facebook that said, we need a Mexican translator. And I said, well, I'm not a translator, but I'm Mexican. So that's half of the job. In Mexico, we have this belief of like, even if you don't know how to do it, say yes. If you're snitching, say no. But if you're applying for something, say yes. You know, that's the rule in Mexico. Even there's this. Have you seen the Black Panther movie with the Mexican guy, the Namor, the Mexican?
Oh, yes.
Okay. When he got hired to be the superhero, they asked him, "Can you swim?" And he said, "Yes." Turns out he didn't know how to swim. So he had to learn to swim to do the movie. So it was the same with me. It's like, can you translate? Yes. So it was a funny situation because I got to the studios in Matewa Media. And this lady, a beautiful lady, came out and she was like, I'm going to be interviewing you. My name is Tweety, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. And I was really nervous because I was looking around. Everything looked like Disney. You know, I was like Disney posters and everything. And I saw people just kind of coming out from the office and looking, who's that guy? And we started chatting and we vibed. We kind of connected. We started, I was honest with her. Then I was honest, I'm an English professor. My English is pretty good. You know, my Spanish obviously is. I'm fluent in Spanish. I can, whatever you need. I'm not a certified translator, but I've had experience with translations and this and that. And she was like, okay, but I want to know more about the Day of the Dead. And she started asking me more about the culture. And I come from a very we're very traditional, and my wife is super Mexican traditional. So in our family, we do celebrate Day of the Dead. We do all the altar and everything. So I had all this already oh man, this is fire because I can answer all the questions. So I did the answering, boom, 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 and she said, okay, we'll send you an email and let you know if you're in or not. And I was like, okay, perfect. And then when I got up, a lot of the people that were in the office, they were like, yo, you're the taco guy, the TikTok guy. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, oh man, nice to meet you. And she was like, are you famous or something like that? And I'm like, no. I do content on social media, and my wife sells tacos and this and that. And she was like, oh, okay. Then I was on my way home, and I got the email straight away. You're hired.
Job.
Yeah.
Oh,
so the job was to be just a consultant, like a Mexican consultant, and help them with the language, and as well a lot of references for the actors to learn more for the culture. Because it was everything in Tereo, in Maori, and everything. They had so much respect for my culture, man. I was the first table read that we had. They even hired my wife to sell tacos, to bring tacos for them. She served tacos that day, and we had all the actors, and everybody was there. And I was looking at her, and everybody knew me, man. It was so weird. Everybody was like, yo, the Mexican guy, TikTok, and this and that, and Instagram, and blah, blah, blah. And some people were like, yo, they're funny, and this, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, wow, man. This feels weird. I didn't know. I didn't know. I don't know. No, it's so weird. I've recently started learning about New Zealand, but at the time I didn't know much about it. So for me, it was just like, who are these people? We finished that day. I went home and I had the whole cast names, and I started Googling the names. Well, the first lady that interviewed me, her name is Tweety Waititi, which is Taika's sister. And the first photo I saw in Google was her holding an Emmy. And I'm like, holy shit, she was the director. And then Rachel House was there. I didn't know who Rachel House was there. Well, it turns out that she was in Marvel movies, A Handful of Wild People, all these amazing movies. She just did a movie right now. Troy King was there. Rob Rivera was there. Petty Jones was there. So I was like, with really famous people, like really, really famous people. And there I was just like, do you want a photo? Nah, I'm good, and I'm like, fuck, I should have taken photos. I was so frustrated. But I got lucky because we went through the whole, a few table reads and everything. And one day Tweety tells me, he was like, do you want to do some voices? And I'm like, of course, yes. But I don't speak Tereo. And she's like, don't worry, you'll do just Spanish. So when the movie, if you see it in Tereo, if you go to Disney Plus and put it on the Tereo version, there's a scene where the little boy is running like on a market, and you hear all this Spanish background voices. That's me doing all those voices and everything and blah blah. And then she liked it so much that she said, "I'm gonna give you a character." But I was like, "I don't speak Tereo, so don't worry." She's like, "You have a full room of Maoris here to teach you." And I ended up doing 3 characters for the movie. I did the stage manager when there's a competition. I did there's a band that wins the competition where the kids singing.
Yeah.
I did the band guy, and then I did another guy that comes at the very end. And I was like, she was like, I don't know if she was just motivating me, but she was like, "Man, and this guy's building bridges and tunnels and shit." And she was like, "You should be an actor." And I was like, "Oh yeah." So she got my ego so high that the next day I went to my job and I was like, "I quit. I'm gonna be an actor now." And then my boss was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be doing Hollywood movies and shit. And I'm a voice actor now for Disney and this and that." I was like that, and it's like, "How about you think about it and don't quit now?" And I'm like, "No, I want to quit now." And he's like, "How about part time?" And I was like, "Okay, let's do part time." But I really wanted to quit because I felt like I was on top of the world, you know. I was like, "Yes, I'm working for Disney now and this and that." And I had an invitation to the Shoreland Street for like just a background thingy. Like it's literally me sitting on the background, like nothing important. But I felt like I'm doing TV now and this and that and Disney and this. And I told the guy, I was like, "You know what? I can only work just Thursdays and Fridays." He's like, "All right, you can stay." And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, well, awesome." And then the day that happened, the whole thing, the strike happened, the writers and everything. So everything dried out. There was no jobs, there was no nothing. I was just like, it's like, see, this is why I'm a comedian. Only bad things happen to comedians, so they can talk about it and make people, you know, like, to make people laugh about the whole thing.
Laugh at your pain. Oh man!
But yeah, man, and it's I think it was one of the best experiences like I've had in my entire life so far, and that motivated me to keep growing my comedy and pushing more. Then I realized that, well, I don't know what happens with comedy in New Zealand, but hopefully everybody's going to be like, "Oh, that guy." But I'm going to say it. Yeah. It's very white, man. Yeah. It's honestly too white for me. And I remember I said that to Figa once, and he said, "Don't say it out loud." We know it, but don't say it out loud. But I said, "No, man, it should change, you know, because there's so many good brown comedians, Polynesian comedians, man." I'm doing a show on Friday. This Friday, I'm doing a show, and we have Shady Tupu from Hamilton. Man, he's so funny. Kura Turufenua, she's already super famous with Maori TV, and she won all the awards with comedy and everything. She's amazing. We have Heta Dawson, another winner with competition comedy, and I think there should be, in my opinion, and this is obviously probably my opinion, and I don't know if everybody agrees or disagrees, but it doesn't make sense that there's a huge population of brown people that, you know, really funny, because Polynesian comedy is so funny, man. Baba is she's so funny, you know. Tofiga, James Nokis, you know, they're so funny. They're really, really, really funny. And to my opinion, I think that should be what New Zealand should be exporting, you know, to the world. Right now, the only guy that I see in it, he's breaking through the whole thing, is Joe Damon. I don't know if you heard about Joe Damon, but he's the guy that got me into TikTok. Joe was the one, because we started doing not started doing it at the same time, but he was still like doing clubs and open mics and everything. And then I saw him one time at a bar called Ding Dong. He had an open mics. It was like 5 people public, and then the other 10 people that you see at the bar was comedians. So there was more comedians than actual public,
audience.
And I remember me and Joe were the only brown comedians in the whole roster, and I saw him and he looked like an angry 50 Cent, and I was just like, he gets that all the time. And I look at him and I'm like, oh man, he must be the bouncer. And he was a comedian. He gets on stage, and when he got on stage, man, I lost it. I was like laughing my ass off. I was like, the other guy, the only other comedian that I know, his name is Keegan Gonbid, and as well, I was like, every time he got on stage, I was laughing my ass. I was like, oh my god, these guys are funny, like really funny. Like they should be out there, Like I'm not even talking about myself. I'm talking about them. And then COVID happened, and when COVID happened, obviously there were no bars, there was nothing to do your comedy. So I remember I was scrolling one day through like Facebook, and I had Joe as a friend on Facebook, and I saw a post that he did where he's talking to the Prime Minister. He's like one of those funny videos that he did, having a video call with Jacinda, and I was just like, man, that's really funny. And I messaged him and I was like, man, fuck, that's really clever. Like I like it. Like, I'm laughing. It's so funny. And he replied to me, it's like, bro, you should do it. Like, TikTok is good. And I was just like, okay, well, I'll give it a try. I jumped on TikTok. And for a year, this is 2021 when that happened. For a year, I was posting videos, doing this, nothing. No views. I think the only 100 views and 2 likes was just me watching and rewatching the video. So nothing. I was posting videos, posting clips of my old comedy shows, and nothing. No, I was in nothing. You can scroll down all the way on my TikTok, go all the way down hundreds of videos, and it's just like videos with like 10 views, 20 views, because it was just me rewatching the videos, man. And I started seeing Joe popping up. There was another comedian, Melanie Bracewell. She's now in Australia. She did a funny video of her like helping her neighbor of COVID, and it was just really funny. She went viral as well, and I was like, oh man, all of these comedians are like, wow, they're doing so good. And then I said, maybe social media is not for me. I was like, maybe I should. Because I was working in construction. I've always been the 9 to 5 guy, So I always had the job. I always had this security pay, stable job, always like that, That's why my wife hates comedy, because all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be a clown, and she's like, what? Where did this come from? And so I the day that I said, you know what? I'm gonna quit TikTok. Like I'm gonna no more social media. Like I felt embarrassed, I'm not young. I'm not that old, but I'm not that young. So I was like, nah, man. I'm just gonna go back to. I'll keep doing my open mics and that's it. But this is not for me. And that day that I was saying that, there was a video. I saw a video on of a guy asking about your country, and I think he was like a famous TV host, and he's like, tell me about your country. What kind of blah, blah, blah? What kind of question? What kind of language? What kind of this? What kind of that? What kind of food? What kind of this? Blah, blah. And then one of the questions that he asked is like, do you have, do you have a president, a prime minister, a queen? Or what kind of government do you have? And I replied, because I duetted the video. That was what I did on TikTok. And I said, oh, in Mexico we get a cartel and a president. That was one thing. And then the last question was like, if I ever go to your country, what do you recommend me to do? And I said, cocaine. That's how I replied. And posted the video, went to sleep, woke up, and the video was on like 500,000 views. And I'm like, what? And everybody was like, yo, that's funny, blah, 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 blah. And a person said, what I think it was like Mexicans in New Zealand or some like it was like Mexicans in New Zealand or some question like that. Yeah. And TikTok gives you the option to reply the question with a video. So I replied that question with a video, and I said, "Hey, ¿qué hora carnales?" I said, "¿Qué hora carnales?" Blah 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 blah. My name is Edd Rivera, and then, yes, I live in Aotearoa. And that video got like 100K views. And then I was just like, okay. And I started replying. Everybody started asking me, obviously everybody was like, what's Mexican? A Mexican? Like Mexican here? Like what? And because it was during COVID, everybody was on the phone. So as soon as I posted one reply, thousands of views. And then I said, oh, maybe I can now do my skits, the stuff the funny thing that I was trying to do. And I posted one and no views. And I was like, hey, I just got like 50,000 views in the last video. Why am I not getting like no? Oh, man, what is happening? And then like probably people just don't like my comedy. You know, I was really disappointed. And then I went and replied another question, and I have 50,000 views. And I'm like, okay, I'll just keep replying to people. And I started doing like that, like one reply, one funny video, one reply, one funny video, like boom, 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 boom. And people started like, now they started watching the other funny videos. And I think I did one, which it was like the true story that I said, my first time at a Polynesian party, and they put it Selena. And I was like, oh, Selena. And people were laughing and like, oh, yeah, we love Selena and blah, blah. And that video got like 100 or 200,000 views. And it started people now like, oh, wow, this guy. And I started now doing more skits. And from 100 followers that I had, I went to like 1,000. And then after that million video, he got to 1 million views. That same question guy got to like 1 million views, something like that. I went to like 10K or 20K followers. And this is where it gets difficult. That's when you're like, now what I do? what do I say? What can I? So I started like some of my jokes, I started turning them into skits just to, blah blah, talking, especially like people love when I compare Mexico to New Zealand. I think they just like my joke when I said like I live in West Auckland because I get homesick, and people started liking that kind of vibe, like, oh yeah, it's true, especially because I don't know why, but people seem to love like Queen of the South and Narcos here. Like I think it's the TV show that everybody watches every night. So and they always want to know, is it true? Is it like
I was going to ask you that, is it true?
Is it true? And I said, you know what? The problem with those TV shows, and in Mexico, the guy, when they did Narcos Mexico, it wasn't going to happen. You know why? Because the guy who was doing all the scouting of locations got killed.
My gosh,
that's how bad it is.
Gosh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, nobody messes. Yeah, man. There's no law over there. So I tell everybody, it's like, the problem with this TV shows is that they make it attractive for youngsters, in my opinion, because they don't show the real violence. They're violent, but they're not as violent as reality is. Like if whatever TV show you see from like Narcos and drug dealers, that's probably 10% of the violence that it is.
Damn.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Damn. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like I tell you, one of the reasons, just right before I came, bro, to New Zealand, a friend of mine, she was 20-something years old. Yeah, she 20 something, 21, 20. I was 20. Yeah, she was like 21, 22, studying, career. She was studying to be, I think, a lawyer or some administrative stuff. Beautiful girl, beautiful, typical Latina, that Mexican beauty and all that stuff. She started dating this guy. We didn't know, we didn't care, but she was dating that guy, and when I arrived to New Zealand, a friend of mine, I was doing a video call with one of my friends, and I was like, "Hey, where you at?" And I was like, "Oh, we're at a funeral, bro. She died." And I'm like, "What? But how?" And she's like, "Oh, she got killed, bro." And I was like, she wait, what? How? And then I'm like, "Oh, they chopped her in pieces."
Damn.
And I was just like,
Jeez.
that's how normal things are in Mexico. With that coolness they talk. And I'm like, what do you mean they chopped her? Like, who? Why? What was she doing? Like, she's a schoolgirl. Like, she's in university. Like, she's not even gang. Like cartel. Well, turns out she didn't know, but her boyfriend was part of the cartel, and the rival cartel picked her up and as a revenge, got her.
That's crazy. Because I've seen a lot of those Mexican movies and those cartels, America Me, all those kind of gangster movies, Blood and Blood Out, all that.
And I tell them that violence, man, it's nothing, and that's why people think that it's cool. I remember one time one kid, one kid, young, he told me he was really secure of what he was telling me. He's like, "Oh man, I cannot wait for New Zealand to become like Mexico." I looked at him and I'm like, "What?" And it's like, "Yeah, man. Like, I wanna have my own cartel." And he even had already his name picked up for the cartel and everything, and he was gonna be in. I'm like,
what's his name? For Fernandez.
And I sat him down and I said, because he was one of my laborers at the construction site, young fella, he's like 17, and I sat him down and I said, I'm gonna tell you some stuff. And you tell me if you want to live like that. All right? I started telling him. By the end, he was almost wanted to cry. He was like, "I didn't know that was like that." And I'm like, "Bro, it's like that. There's a reason. There's Mexicans. The only reason a Mexican leaves their country is because they're tired of it. We love our, like, I always tell everybody when they say, "Why don't you go back to Mexico?" And I'm like, if Mexico was good, trust me, I'd be there. No one leaves their country for, like, even all of those refugees from all the wars that are happening, they're leaving their country because there's a reason, there's a reason why it's not just because, I want to move out. Like, no, there's something happening, and I tell everybody, it's like, that's my only concern. I know I joke about, like, I used to sell, like, with my persona and all that stuff, but I tell them this is just comedy. This is, and comedy, I think people tend to forget that comedy, it's a reflection of the society that we live in. That's and it's true. I say comedy comes from a dark place. It has to. You cannot make a clean, like pure comedy. You can, but comedy comes from that dark place where someone has to talk about it. Someone has to mention it, and yeah, I think it's part of how things are and everything.
Man, Ed, it's interesting, Brad? It's interesting that a lot of the comedians, and I find it a lot of the comedians that I enjoy watching and listening to, you guys are highly intelligent. Hey, Brad, just there's something about you. Obviously, you're a professor, and obviously your wife thinks otherwise. But
sometimes,
but just the material, the wit, the timing. Obviously, you said sometimes it comes from a dark place, and already you've mentioned some of the adversity you faced whilst being in New Zealand. And, a lot of people, wherever I go, people think, New Zealand's the next best thing to heaven. But you look at some of the social issues and societal issues we have here in New Zealand, and also the justice system, and also the medical system, all that kind of stuff. And first of all, man, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, Ed. So sorry that your wife and losing your daughter and being part of this whole injustice, so to speak. It's just crazy. I find it highly disgusting. But brother, look at you. You are not one of those individuals who go, woe is me. I'm depressed. I should be anxious. All that kind of stuff. But look at what you're doing.
Well, I eat.
You ate.
That's my
ate. You ate.
That's my drug. So if you're talking about a problem, yeah, you're seeing it right now. There's a problem, and it's right there.
But look at you. Look at the things you're doing. Look, people could have said, you know what? I just give up. I don't care. I'm just gonna be highly depressed. I'm just gonna stay in bed and just not move at all. But look at you. You're moving. You're doing things. You're making people laugh. You're getting into the acting, TikTok, and you're standing up in terms of stand-up comedian.
There's this Robin Williams said once. I can't remember. I'm probably gonna misquote him, but the quote goes like that: comedians know how to make people laugh because they know what sadness is. So they know the effect what laughter is. So I tell everybody, there's for me, there was this. He's a Kiwi guy. He's doing like that. 10,000 Dreams at the moment. He's asking that. I got the pleasure to be interviewed by him the other day, and I said that's my dream, to make people laugh, make me. It's I think when you see someone laughing, for the few seconds that the laugh lasts, they forget everything. There's no worries, there's no concerns, there's nothing. You're just laughing because of the moment. And I think that's one of the things that right now, why comedy is becoming such a huge industry, because it wasn't like that. There were stand-up comedians in the whole world. There were very few. Now you see everybody has a special on Netflix. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's shows here, shows over there, open mics here, open number. I'm like, man, am I late to the party? It's like, I was thinking that the other day. I was like, fuck, I think I'm late to the party. Like, now everybody's making it besides me. But it is, because we need it. There's a lot of things happening around the world and around our lives that I tell them, and I say, everybody, all your favorite comedians started at a shitty bar. They all started like that. So go, if you see that there's an open mic, if you see that there's a comedy show, local comedy show, go support them. Eventually they will get there, or they will get canceled. So
whatever comes first.
either or. But yeah, I try my best to keep that up. Even that's why I started hanging out with all the boys. Everybody asked me, so, bro, how did you did it? How did you manage to enter to Ooze Gang and to Terrell and all the guys? And I have to give it to him, Terrell. Terrell was the one that reached out. Terrell was the one. He was the one. I had messaged everybody before, because I started my own podcast at the time, and I wanted to be, so I messaged everybody, and I was trying to get people on the podcast. Obviously, nobody was replying. You probably know what it feels like when you start a podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have to literally beg, even sometimes pay. So I was just like, man, I need to. I've always admired the kids from Vine, all the guys that came out from the Vine era, like Logan Paul, King Badge, all of those guys. They started themselves, they became famous, then they got together, they became way more famous, and now each of them, they're doing whatever they want. Some of them are actors, some of them are athletes, entrepreneurs. They're doing their own thing. And I really admire that. So I said, hey, why not try to do that here in New Zealand? So I tried to reach out and everything, and nobody was replying. And then I think it was before or after. Yeah, before I left to Mexico, because I went to Mexico in 2022, December 2022. I went to Mexico. Just before I left to Mexico, I saw a message on my TikTok from Terrell saying, "Hey, you want to do a video with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, definitely. What time, when you want me?" And it was a really funny one. You can actually watch the episode on YouTube on his channel. We did a sausage eating competition. Don't ask me why he picked sausage, but he was the one that picked sausage. That's a joke. He actually jokes about that. He actually jokes but we competed against the world champion of eating in New Zealand. Her name is Nella. So this is a really skinny girl that started. She's the champion. She beat us. She beat me and Terrell together. So she eats sausage like hell.
That's not what you said. Not what you say like that.
Wait, delete that. No, she eats fast. She is fast, and the whole video is like really funny. And then I went to Mexico, and in Mexico something really funny happened. I took my kid to eat a burger. And I don't know, it was just me and him. We were just me and my kid and my daughter, and we were just having the burger. And I told my daughter, hey, because she's at the time she was 10, 11. So I told her, record me and your brother eating the burger, and she recorded us eating the burger and blah blah. And on TikTok there was a trend going on saying like you post a sad song. And then the people are eating, and it says bank account $0, burger $50, happiness 100%, something like that. It says that video right now has 9 million views and like million something likes on TikTok. Like it's like one of it's the biggest one that I had. It got posted in other social pages, and they got also millions of views as well with that video. And it's literally a 7-second video of me and my son just eating with the sad song and the music. Nothing like I was nothing prepared. Nothing I didn't thought of. I saw the video. This was a replica from another video. So I was following a trend. It wasn't not even me starting the trend. It was following the trend, and it went viral as. And then I came back to New Zealand, and I remember I said, you know what? There's two things now. Either I take this thing serious, or I just keep working on my job and that's it. I won't. Like this is 2023. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna focus myself. I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna try to contact people, and I'm not gonna get a no for an answer. And I remember I was like with that, like, you can even put Eye of the Tiger background music, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. Yes, this. And I started. The first person I messaged was Wolfgang, and I said, yo, bro, I like your videos. You're funny, blah, blah, blah. Let's hang out. You tell me where you at, and I'll come, blah, blah, this. I don't care the time. Just tell me. I'll be there, blah, blah, blah. And he replied like this, yo. She said like that, yo. And I'm like, yo, what?
What does it mean?
Keen or?
Yeah, and then he replied, keen. And I'm like, okay. So when? And then he said, tomorrow. And here I am, like writing my long ass message, and he's like, yeah, yo, keen, sure, yeah, tomorrow. What? 11? Yeah, where? South Auckland. Okay. And that was it. I came, and it was at the gym that he was training. So we started laughing because I saw the gym, and I'm like, what? We even created, the joke was like, oh man, I thought you invited me to drink Jim Beam, not the gym, and that was one of the skits that we did. And then he had another idea of he's actually now a content creator. At the time he wasn't yet, but his name is H Poppy on Instagram. But Alvin, he became now one of my best friends, and he's Wolfgang. If you see Wolfgang, Alvin is always either recording him or in the background around there. The Hawaiian guy.
The Hawaiian guy. Yes.
Yeah. So at that time he wasn't doing any videos. He was just recording and all that stuff with Uz. And he had a crutch. He was with a crutch, and Uz borrowed it, and he pretended that he lost a leg, and he was begging for money, and then he outrun me and blah blah. That was his video, and between his video and my video, and then another one that we did where we try to fit together in a car, it went viral as like it was like thousands and thousands of views and likes and shit. And I was just like, wow. And I think Terrell, I always admire Terrell because he has this vision. He has like this vision of like, this is what we're gonna do, and he's very prepared. He's always like very. I always tell him, man, I want to learn more from you, you know, because he comes with a script. He comes with this. We're gonna do this. Take here, camera over there, angle this, angle that for a 10-second video. But he comes with the whole thing, and I'm like, bro, here I am just with a fucking selfie stick, you know, like being stupid, and this guy like, but that's what makes a difference. And he showed me that, and he started like pushing it with oohs and everything. And then Busky got me, and then Jackie came in, and everybody started we started kind of like doing the whole thing. And then, well, obviously Ooze Gang became Ooze Gang, you know. He was already up there, but he because of that, you know, vision that he had already, and plus what Terrell bring into the table. And I said, you know what? We need to start doing that. So we started, all of us helping each other and doing that. And I started forgetting about comedy. I started becoming into just content creator. But I said, you know what? I love doing content. Don't get me wrong. I love doing videos. I have so much fun it's really fun. But it's nothing like being on stage.
Stand up,
you know, nothing like being, to me. I know some of the boys will tell you, no, man, videos on the camera and all that, it's better. But for me, it's like on actual stage, you know, interacting with people and making their life laugh, you know, because there's a very dark area with social media that, you know, very, very dark. There's a lot of hate.
Yeah.
There's
the trolls.
Oh man, it's insane. It's so funny. One of the most recent videos, I was laughing my ass off. I think it went viral. On Instagram was my first video that went to 1 million views and likes on Instagram. It's me, and it's the same. It's a replica video. Everybody has done that video, blah, blah, blah. And it's me whenever you want to play video games and you fall asleep. And that was it. That was the whole thing. It was me sitting down trying to play a video game and I fall asleep, right? And probably there's like, I don't know, like 10, 20,000 comments on that video. And they're like, oh, because you're fat, you're gonna die, you're heart attack. And they're like, just mean comment. Funny thing is that I'm a comedian. People don't forget that I'm a comedian. So roasting is part of being comedy. So I replied to every single message, just having fun with them. And I do that. I love that. But it can get to your head. Like if you like, to me, it hasn't. I always say, my style of comedy is self-deprecating. You know, I make fun of myself. You can say whatever you want, you know. You can say whatever you want. It's not gonna hurt me, you know. That's how it. But still, sometimes you really come in, you're like, oh, you're like, oh,
some
shit,
of them they go harsh.
They go harsh. Yeah. So, I think it's better, to my opinion, like live comedy. So I said this year. Last year was full content. I did content as much as possible. Did a lot of ooze. And the best part is that it's so funny, man. Some of the videos we take 3 hours to make a 10-second video, and it's so frustrating sometimes because you like take like so many takes, so many videos, so many this edit, music, change of wardrobe, change of this, change of that, and then you get a goal of likes and views, and you're like, man. And then you're fooling around, and you're like, one of the skits that became really viral with us was the Dora one with me, where I dressed with the Dora was really funny, man, and it was an accident. It happened by accident, the Dora thing, because I live out west. All the boys, everyone's out south, Oakland. So for me to do content with them is sometimes struggling. So I said, you know what, boys, whenever you're doing content, I'll try my best to come and do content with you guys. And that's what we do. Like I literally, if we have the chance, I go and we do like 10, 20 videos and I save them just to start posting them throughout the month or whatever. Because sometimes it gets really hard, especially now that most of them are really busy doing. They're very successful. All of them, they're doing so. I'm so proud of them. They're doing them. I'm the smaller one from all the boys. They always say, "Oh, don't say that," but I'm the smaller one. You know, I got a little bit late to the party, but you know, just getting there, and I I said, you know what? I'm gonna start creating characters. I said that. I was thinking, I'm gonna create some characters. I saw, you know, how Jimmy and Uncle Takes, they put just a shirt on top of them and they pretend to be women. And I said, I'm gonna get a wig, you know. I'm actually gonna get a wig and I'm gonna pretend to be my wife. I was gonna do some skits of me and my wife, me being my wife as well. Because she doesn't like to participate in the music. He's like, get that camera off me. So anyway, long story short, I bought a wig on like those like $5-10 ones, and the boys were at my house, and we were like, what do we do? We were like just brainstorming, kind of like, what do we think? And it'd be funny to do. Oh no, someone already do that. Oh, someone already do that. One of those times that you get blocked. And I said, oh, guys, I bought something. I'll come out. And I went down and I showed them, I have a wig, bro. And I put it on. And as soon as I put it on, Us started fucking laughing. And I'm like, what are you laughing at? And I'm like, it's Dora. And everybody clicked on and they were laughing. And I said, wait a minute. And I went and I had a pink shirt, put on my shorts. And I grabbed one of my wife's backpacks, the little backpack. So I put it on and this. And as soon as I came out, they were like, holy shit, bro. And it was really funny because they were all laughing and I started acting gangster, you know. I started like, what are you talking about, puto? Hey, I'm gonna yeah, say. And I started like being gangster and shit. And Us was like, yo, let's do that. And boom, the click came out. You know, we did that where Dora beats them. And obviously Jack is an amazing stunt man. So he directed the whole thing and the video went viral. We did a few more other with Dora, so it's really rewarding when those kind of videos happen, you know. But like I said, to me, my dream would be, you know, getting to full on comedy. You know, like I remember my first biggest show that I've ever done was in Tokoroa with Tofiga. And it was amazing, man. Like I remember Tofiga, he told me, it's like, clean comedy. And I'm like, yes, boss. So I was really nervous, you know. I was like, oh man, I know when I talk, I drop the F-bomb sometimes, you know, or I do a naughty joke, or it's very, my personality goes like that, you know. So I was really nervous. And James Nokis came out and he introduced me. And I was like, I did 10, 12 minutes of that was my opening time. And I did my best, you know. I did my jokes. We had like, it was like 4 to, I think it was like 500 people. Like it was on a stadium in Tokoroa. It was just amazing. And I did my whole, you know, 10 minutes. I literally got off stage. I was covered in sweat and sweat, like just drenching, just nervous. And I looked at Tofiga's manager and I was like, did I fuck it up? Did I say something? Because I blanked out. I literally, I did my jokes. I said the whole thing. I saw the reaction. People were laughing and everything. But I didn't listen if I made any mistakes of doing any naughty joke and he was like, no, man, you perfect. Like that's what we wanted. You did good. And I was like, oh God. And then I got to see Tofiga do an hour and a half, man, like clean comedy with no problem, no sweat, no nothing. And I'm like, man, I'm very far away from being a professional comedian. but it's an addiction, you know, that kind of thing for me, that seeing that people doing that kind of comedy is just amazing, you know. Like every time I see any of my fellow comedians that I know that they do comedy. We went to Hamilton last week, and the bar was empty. So I got outside and I started, like, every drunk person that was walking by, I was literally pulling them inside the bar and like, come in. We filled up the bar. And we did a good set. It was really fun. You know, I did. We shot on Huntley. You know, Hamiltonian saying Huntley. So I said I did a lot of Huntley jokes, and it's just amazing. You know, and the fact that social media opens the door, because it was like, as soon as I mentioned a few things, people were like, they were not recognizing me, but as soon as I said, I was like, oh shit, this guy, he's that guy. You know, I also been doing a lot of content with Talks Valley as well.
Yes.
So
the cover.
Oh man, have you been to his cover place?
No, I haven't.
You guys have to, man. We went, and it's a beautiful place, and it's good cover. It's good cover. It's so funny because I posted the video on YouTube of the whole cover thing, and a lot of my Mexican friends were like, "So what's that? A tea?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man. Technically, it's a tea. You know, the way they say it's a tea. Does it get you drunk?" And I'm like, "No, it's like numbs you, like relaxes you. You know." I was like, "Oh man, that sounds interesting." And I loved it. I loved the cover. But I think I didn't love the drink. I love the actual cover. Yeah, you know, the reunion with the cracking up, all that. I like that vibe. I think, and you only get that with Polynesians, man.
Yeah, well, it's cool.
We had a white guy there, but he was just for in case the police showed up. But I need to get one of those, man. Talks Valley has his own white guy, man. I'm like, man, I need to get one of those,
man. Man.
Yeah, man.
Talks Valley. Oh man, I tell you what, Ed, it's an absolute privilege. You man, just your journey thus far, and obviously in comedy you said, hey, it's just timing, and maybe you've come late to the party, but I think timing is not everything, but also just perfect timing. I think you've hit it in the right time, because you are funny, you are making waves, and like you said, I totally agree. There's nothing in terms of you're on stage and you're interacting with the crowd and you're making them laugh, and it can be quite scary. I can imagine it be quite scary because you're exposing yourself, and if you bomb, but if you don't, then you get a lot of praise. But I commend you for the courage, obviously, because you're Mexican. You come all they come from Mexico to New Zealand, and you're doing things.
Can I tell you the only time that I've only bombed twice in my whole career? I've bombed. I cannot say I've never bombed in my life, but I've done twice. One was in Cumio.
Oh, man.
In Cumio, and at a beer spot, and the other one was in Reno, Nevada. It was those two places.
Nevada.
Yeah, in the States. So the one in Cumio, I bombed completely, but it was a good bomb. It was a really nice bomb, because I got there and it was the whitest crowd I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, no,
I'm talking about white because they were old, so they were even white with white hair. You know, that white. You know, that level of white. You know,
folks.
That's the second level of white. You know, the one that they're like, "Well, leave my country." You know, that kind of person. The only brown people in the whole bar was the bartender and the bouncer. Bartender Maori, bouncer was Samoan, and me. The rest of the comedians were white. So I get on stage. They mentioned me, blah, blah, blah. At that time, my repertoire of comedy or jokes that I was saying was how hard it is to be an immigrant parent because you're not allowed to beat your kids. So I got on stage and I was saying those jokes, and this joke comes from Tofika. Actually, we were talking about that, and he's like, "No, you just close the drapes." He said that to me, and I was, practicing those jokes, and I was, nobody was laughing.
Yeah,
the whole when you're like in a crowd and you hear the. You see one of those, you're like, shit, man.
And your mind like, get me out of here.
Yeah, you tell her, you're like, hey, and you're like, fuck. But from the very entrance, man, the someone guy was like, ha! He was laughing his ass off, and the bartender was laughing his ass off. So I turned around and was like, okay, well, thank you very much. I think that's my crowd over there. And I just turned around and started telling all the jokes to the someone. He lost his mind. He was like laughing. But the whole crowd was just like, yeah, man. Yeah.
Like, the crickets.
Yeah, man. And then the one in Nevada was really funny, man, because obviously me being doing my comedy in New Zealand, I was talking about Mexicans all the time, and Mexico and a Mexican in New Zealand and this and that. So all of my jokes were, that's when I realized I needed to expand myself more into my comedy and adapt. I went there and I started saying all those Mexican jokes, like, oh, I couldn't jump the border and everything. But I was saying those jokes to a Mexican crowd. And everybody was just like, yeah, so we've heard those jokes before. Like, it was kind of like, I had a few laughs, but it was just like, meh, like you're boring. And that's when the next day I had another gig in Reno. And I went and I started saying my fat jokes and my married jokes, and everybody was losing. And I was like, okay, so I need to adapt myself. Same when I went to Australia to do jokes. I said, I cannot do New Zealand jokes because, it's Australia. I need to adapt myself. So I remember the first thing that I said, I was like, I was really nervous coming to Australia because you were not gonna laugh about my jokes, but turns out you're more racist than New Zealand, and they lost their shit. They were laughing their eyes off. Like, okay, we clicked on and we started, going at the whole thing, and obviously I said, oh, the reason I'm in Australia is a long swim. But here we are, and they loved it. They were laughing, and it worked out, and turns. I'm finding now, like I feel cool, I think I feel on my spot where I decided, and can I help me with this idea, where I told him, hey, how do I make people notice me? Like I know I'm doing okay, and I feel like, I want to do better. I want to get to Usgang level, and I said that to him, and he said, well, you need to get to YouTube. YouTube is, if you get YouTube is a very loyal community that, plus you can earn money at the same time, but it's a very cool community because TikTok, it's a very volatile community. You might get a lot of views, you might not get any views. It's weird, but YouTube, they're very kind of like loyal. People that watches YouTube, they're very loyal kind of type. And we came out with he helped me with it, and all the boys kind of like Alvin gave me, so H-Puppy gave me some ideas and everything, and I'm doing a blog right now called Road to Netflix. So the whole concept is that I'm showing people my progress of the gigs that I do, some parts of my lives, some parts of the stuff that I do with the boys and everything, and in the end, it's gonna culminate with me on a Netflix special.
Netflix special. Cool. Oh, that's clever, man. That's clever. That's awesome, man. So, what is that? Because I want to ask you just one last question for me. But what's the ultimate goal? Obviously, you got Netflix. You want to get into Netflix special. But what's the ultimate goal for Edd Rivera? What's in terms of comedy, or could be not just comedy, just in life in general?
Yeah.
What's the ultimate goal for you?
Peeing without Viagra. That's not a joke. No. It's winter, man. It takes. As soon as I feel the need to go to the toilet, I have to stand up and go to the toilet. It takes me 3 hours to find it. So just lick the Viagra, just the tip, a little bit, and then I can pee.
So penicillin doesn't work.
Come on, it's not. I know it's not that big, but like.
Oh man! Oh man!
No. That's why I can't. Did you see? I was carrying a tile when I arrived. A tile. Those how tiles. So I just put it like that to pee.
No Tupperware.
No Tupperware. Yeah. I think the end goal for me, I obviously the comedy and everything, but I would love, and I would love for me to create. I wanna. I've always been in love with helping others. I've always liked that. I think the best way to live your life is to help others, you know, and I think every time I get the opportunity, I try to help as much as possible, you know, either by just guiding them or being there or whatever. When I was a teacher, I used to donate my time at like orphanages, teaching and all that stuff. Here in New Zealand, I try my best to like do volunteer work as much as possible, you know. So I would love to that if obviously, sadly, this time money is money, you know, but I would love to have enough money to open up either not clinics, but a place where people can forget about their issues. I know people call them bars, but it's not a bar. I don't want to do a bar. No, it's like help the youth in general to improve themselves with comedy. You know, help them find, even if it's just a workshop, even if it's just something, help them realize that, yeah, man, life is hard. Life is always gonna be hard. You know, that's why if it hurts, it's because you're alive. You know, simple as that. If it hurts, it's because you're alive. So you have to take that pain and make it into something good always, because if you let that pain consume you, you're not living. You're just letting the pain win. So I think, and I see it with my kids, I see it with the people around me. Like you mentioned before, there's a lot of issues in New Zealand, and I'm very surprised that in Mexico we don't talk about that, you know, like suicide and all that stuff. You don't talk about that, but here and especially like for example in construction, working in construction is the highest one. And when I heard that, I was like, that's not possible. And in my own like tenure working, I had 3 people passed away. One was my boss. Yeah, yeah. Another 2 were guys that I knew, and to me they were perfectly fine. I never to me it was just like, but I just saw them like they were like they were okay. You know what I mean? So I think I would like to, in the future with my success, if I get that success and everything, give back to help people learn to survive with the pain. You know, because I think I don't say I've been through a lot of painful stuff throughout my life, and I think comedy has been the one that has bonded me, like kept me together to continue throughout my. So that's how I would like to give back to the society in general, not just here, because I know that happens. You know, I started investigating when that happened here. I was like, wow, what about Mexico? And then I started checking in Mexico, and we have the same problem, you know, but because there's a lot of bad things happening, you don't notice it. You know, here there's not many bad things happening, so you notice what has going on. You know, so it's you know, there's still something happening, you know. So and I think if we learn to hear each other, you know, and learn from everybody, from experiences and everything, it will help a lot. You know,
man, brother, man, what a noble, what an awesome goal. Obviously, as a comedian, you want to give back to the people with and the work that you do in terms of voluntary and helping people. It just reveals your heart, Ed. It really does reveal the heart that you have, and also the love that you have. It's, in spite of all the adversities and the hard times, you shine through. And brother, I wish you nothing but the best. I'm just going to say it here. I'm just going to speak it into existence. You're going to make it, brother. we're going to be cheering you on in terms of Netflix, and so if you make that, then, when you get on your special, brother, man, give us a shout out, man. Give us a shout out, man. So, and your familia back home should be proud of you, man. Should be proud of you, 100%. Obviously, your wife, your kids. And and I can guarantee you, brother, you can.
Can you send me that clip? so I can send it to my wife.
Hey man, give him his props, man. Give him the props.
See, this is what love feels like. This is what support is like.
but it is. In all seriousness, you're doing things, and it's an amazing story because some people take things for granted, and you're not taking your path or the things that have happened to you for granted, and the opportunities that come your way. And I love it that you're going for it. And what I've got from this, and what I've gauged from our conversation, is that you're a man of passion, a man of zeal, but also a man who is not afraid to, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, and you seize the opportunities. And so I don't think anyone can take that away from you. And that's why I'm sitting here with the rest of the brothers, believing that you're going to make it. You're going to make it. And I know you said that maybe you're late to the party. Timing was late. I think you're just right. The perfect timing, brother.
Thank you, Robert.
And so, man, bless you in abundance, man. And I will be cheering you on, brother.
Oh, man. Likewise. Thank you for having me. I saw the reason I contacted you guys and tried to get to the podcast. I saw Tofiga's clip and I was like, oh man, if he can make it, why not me? We're the same size. I'm pretty sure the couch can feed it. No. Then I saw Jackie and I'm like, oh, the couch is too small. But hey, thank you so much for having me. I honestly love what you guys are doing. It's so interesting because I've done a lot of podcasts recently and throughout the last 2 years. I've done a lot of podcasts. And when I mentioned I was today with Poetic, I'm actually
685, man.
And he looked at me and he was like, "Oh man, you're gonna be with them, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're my boys. It's gonna get tough, right? So." Be good. And I'm like, yeah, man. And every time I say, oh, man, I'm gonna be a mandate, they're like, oh man, that's where it gets serious, it gets fun, it gets interesting. So I never heard nothing bad. So I'm very I was very excited to be here, man. And I even came all the way from West Oakland.
West Oakland, man.
It's a 3 hours drive and. Well, it's the traffic. It's the traffic.
Oh, it's traffic, man. You're right.
I was happy that you said 8 o'clock recording. I was like, oh, man, that's when the traffic starts slowing down in Oakland. Man. So, but thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, my friend. Brent, you want to add something?
Yeah, I second everything Pete said. We're grateful that you came here and you shared your story. Bro, that's a lot of the stuff you shared about your daughter and about that whole incident. With Pete, I apologize on behalf of New Zealand. That's horrible. You know what I mean? Any life that's ever taken or put in, there should be repercussions. There should be consequences. I agree with you on that. That's pretty shocking because it just sends a message to kids out there that you can get away with whatever you want. You know what I mean? It's just a slap on the wrist and then you're sweet ass. So, that's pretty hideous. But thank you for sharing. Really excited for what you have next. I have a couple of questions just quickly.
Yeah. Go hard.
You've left the country to come. I mean, you left your home and everything you knew to go to a country you've never been to. What have you got any tips for people that are maybe wanting to go overseas and maybe pursue a dream of some kind? What tips would you give to them in a way to climatize to that new environment?
Well, stay away from the local cuisine. Because this is what happens. too much lucipi and
luau
and corned beef. Hey, I'm Mexican. I love corn, and when they say corned beef, I'm like, oh, you got me a corn. No. do it. I tell everybody, if every time I was when I was working in construction, I had the pleasure to be in charge of all the labor crew that we had, and we had it was like 50 laborers that we had at the site, and I think 30 of them were young Polynesian kids, and I always tell them, man. Because once it was so fun. I know I'm digressing with the story, but they literally didn't show up to work on a Saturday, and that's because they went and got on the piss on Friday. And then the reason I got angry because they were drinking, and then they had the brilliant idea of going around the corner and starting like a little fight club between them. And they were still wearing the jackets from the company, and one of the supervisors saw them, and they were like, "Yo, like there's boys in that, and we're gonna fire them and shit." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to pull rank, and kind of like, be a little bit tough." And I said, "Man, I'm gonna," and they were like, they were shocked when I said that. I was like, "Guys, don't you hate that an immigrant is your boss?" And they were like, "Bro, I have no connections. I have no family here. I have no friends. And I've been here for 6 months and I'm already your boss. Don't you hate that?" And the kids are like, I'm like, "Please don't slap me." I was looking at the whole room like this, please. These were very aggressive 10-year-old kids, bro. So I was looking at all these Tongan kids. I was like, "Kids, please." No, but I was like, man, you guys have everything. You have 2 eyes, 2 hands, like everything. You're healthy. You're like, you have a brain. Show me. Take my job. It's your country. You even speak the language. I hope so. But you can do it. And a few of the kids, they're like, now 2 of them, they're engineers, and they're like doing pretty good.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. And I saw one of the boys. He came to buy tacos, and I saw him, and I was like, and he's like, "Yo," I was like, "You remember me?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm just about to finish my apprenticeship and this and that." And I'm like, "Oh man, see, I told you, man." I was like, "Bro, this is your country. Take it. But if you want to go to another country, do it. Do it. Like, don't be afraid." I always tell everybody, don't be afraid. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be difficult, but the reward's gonna be amazing. Either you learn or you learn. Yeah. That's it. There's no other way. There's no losses. You either learn or you learn. That's it. Because you're gonna learn to either appreciate what you have back home, or you're gonna learn to appreciate what you got in the new country.
That's
good,
cool.
man. Good.
So I think that's
good advice, man.
That's don't be afraid of leaving and going to another country.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. One more question is, you've said a few times that you feel like you came late to the party. What advice would you give yourself, maybe before you started and you maybe wanted to? What advice would you give yourself?
Don't eat the pie. Just don't do it. It's not good. It's good, but don't.
It's too good. It's too good.
Now I go to the pie shop and I said, just put it right here. Just right here. Just
it's quicker and faster.
That gravy that you have right there, right here. And the cheese on this side. It's all right.
Oh, man.
Shot. No, I think what I would give, I think I was second guessing the stuff that I was doing. So I wasn't sure. I was like, "Oh man, am I doing this wrong?" Like I was overthinking everything, and that made me lose a lot of time. Like while I was just debating, should I do this? Should I do that? The moment I stopped doing that, like just overthinking the whole thing, things started happening. Started happening. It's just taking the risk and don't say no. Have you seen that movie with Jim Carrey, The Yes Man? Have you seen that movie? The Yes Man that's the name of it's a Jim Carrey movie, and in that movie he's like a no guy. He was always say his friends are inviting him out. No, I don't want to go out. There's a pretty lady.
Oh,
no, I don't.
yes.
He's always saying no,
Yes.
no. And then he goes to this like public speaking guy, and he kind of like brainwashes him, and they're like, every time that someone tells you something, you're gonna say yes.
Yes.
And then he starts saying yes to everything, and his whole life goes to like an amazing road where he's just taking risks and doing this, and he has to say yes. He finds love, he finds friends, so I think that's say more yes to the no's. You know, I think it's what I would say to myself. Don't think about it. Just go with it. I know I was already doing it, but I was second guessing, like maybe no. Or when I started the podcast as well, I was like, should I email people? No, maybe I don't want to annoy anybody. Like, no, man, just fucking grind. You know, like do it. Like contact everybody. Like. I tell you, bro, I after I said it took me, I bought the whole equipment for the podcast, just a little, kind of thing, blah, blah. And it took me months and months to do something with it. And then one day I said, just gonna email people. And I started literally looking for the emails and contacts and everything. I sent emails to every single person, man, everyone. And then I think I sent, without exaggerating, maybe 200-300 emails, man. 200-300 emails. Just to famous people and contacts and everybody. Nobody replied. And then after that, it was like in 2-3 days after, this lady, her name is Veronica, replied back, and she's like, hey, I'm the publicist of Felipe Esparza. If you know comedy in the States, Felipe Esparza, Gabriel Iglesias, which is Fluffy.
Yeah.
Everybody knows him, right? So he has an opening act that he's a comedian, very famous, named Martin Moreno. And when he started his whole comedy career, he was touring with another comedian named Felipe Esparza. So Felipe Esparza is the first comedian in I think US and Mexico that has a Netflix special at the same time, one in English and one in Spanish.
Crazy.
He's huge. He has an HBO. He does a lot of TV shows, movies, and he's actually coming to New Zealand this year. And I managed to get him in the podcast. He was, and then he has his own podcast where he has like really famous people, and he invited me to be in his podcast. He's like, yo, bro, now you jump on my podcast. And his name is, the podcast is called What's Up, Foo? And I was in his podcast as well, and he's gonna come, and we're gonna do some stuff
awesome,
over
man.
here. So it's just like, and after that, people started showing up. I started getting that. I got Tofiga. That's how I met Tofiga. I managed to get Tofiga through the podcast, and then it was incredible, man, because I flew to Wellington to do the Fringe Festival. He stays out in Wellington. So he came to my show. So he sat down, watched my show. We did the podcast. He gave me some pointers, and it was just like, wow, man. Like, and just because I said yes, like, just stop thinking about it, do it. And it happened.
That's good, man.
So I think that would be an advice.
Man, some good advice, man. Good advice. I love it. I love your persistence.
How do you you've talked about some of the hardships that you went through, especially with your losing your daughter, your wife getting the accident, the way the hospital handled everything. How do you overcome something like that and just sort of push forward? Like, is it just time, or what is it?
No, man, you don't. It's just there, man. Like, literally every I always say it's one of those pains that it never stops hurting. You learn to live with it, and I've been through a lot of bad stuff, like a lot, bro. I've the first time I saw someone died, I was 8, bro. And literally I saw someone got shot, and he literally died. I was there just watching. I've lost a lot of relatives. I've seen many horrible things, in 2012 to 2015, there was a war in Mexico with the cartels, and you would see bodies every day. Bodies hanging from bridges, bodies just dismembered, stories all the time. And I got to live through the whole thing, and that was my day-to-day, So I think there's a director, he's very famous. His name is Guillermo del Toro. He's done a lot, like a lot of, he's Oscar winner and all that stuff. He's from my hometown. He's from Guadalajara.
True.
And he went back to one of his interviews when he won his first Oscar. They asked him one of the questions. I love that question. She's like, the lady asked a very complicated question. She's like, how do you overcome? Like, it's exactly that same question. And he replied with the best, most gangster comment ever I've heard in my life. He said, because I'm Mexican. He said that. And when you understand the background, me as a Mexican, I was just like, oh, when he said that, I was like, damn. I'm pretty sure if you hear someone say that, like to anybody, how do you overcome? And they say, because I'm Samoan, because I'm Tongan, you're like, oh, shit. Let's go, you feel that. So it's the same for me. Mexico, we always say the level of difficulty when you're born in Mexico is the hardest one. If you imagine a video game and that's the most difficult level of and if you're brown, it gets harder. So that's level legendary. So it gets really difficult, man. It's you have to overcome so many struggles, not just like from day to day. I remember. Even taking the bus was dangerous. Walking on the street. First time I went back from New Zealand to Mexico, I was not the second time. The first time was I was still a little bit Mexican, but the second time I went back to Mexico, I think I was already really comfortable with New Zealand. And I remember I was walking and I was on my phone, and literally my friend just grabbed the phone and put it away. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "You're not supposed to be walking with your phone on." And I'm like, I didn't
register.
I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "'Cause it's gonna get stolen. Put it away." Oh. And then it clicked on me again, that sensation of like every time you're on the street, just like, looking at your back all the time because something could happen. And that's life over there. It's constant living like that. You have to be like all the time around and just checking up. And you, even though you're nobody, something happens, like I there's a story that one of my friends, I'll tell it really fast. It's really simple, sad story. He was just a hardworking guy. No, nothing special, just a worker guy, really worker. He wasn't really good for school, so he was a laborer, like that kind of stuff. One of his uncles passed away and left him like $5,000, not even a huge amount of money, but like $5,000-6,000. And he invested all that money in a little like taco stall. And we were laughing because all of them were like, "Oh man, now you're gonna be a taco man." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna sell tacos." And I'm like, "Okay." Oh, the tacos were really good, man. We started going, supporting the bro, and we bought tacos. And every day he was selling tacos at night on the street, and he would sell tacos and this and that. And within a year, he bought a little bigger taco truck, and then he got a bigger truck, and then he the house that he was renting, he managed to buy the house for his mom and because he didn't have a dad. It was only him and his mom and his brothers, and they all kind of like ran the taco stall together and everything. And he started like the house. He adapted it to be like a mini restaurant kind of thing. It was still a street vendor, but you know, he bought a little bit of a decent car. He like one of those like Ford SUV, that kind of thing. Nothing fancy, but just for him to carry all the car and everything. This was in a time frame of like 2 years. He did all of that in 2 years, which is pretty good. They kidnapped his brother. Who? We don't know. Someone kidnapped his brother. They asked for the ransom. And he had to sell the house, sell the business, sell the car, sell everything. And he didn't even get his brother back.
Not even.
Yeah, they killed the brother.
And they took the money.
Yeah, took the money. Bro, now he's fruit picking illegally in the States, bro. That's his story, man. And when I heard that happen to him, because I saw him firsthand, I was just like, man, fuck that.
God.
Because I always tell everybody I'm not afraid of, like, because my wife now, she understands that, but before she didn't understood that part, because she used to tell me, it's like, oh, you think you cannot be successful in Mexico, that's why you want to be outside of New Zealand. And I'm like, no, it's not about not at all. I know I can be successful in Mexico. I know I can make money. The problem is that the moment you start making money, and it's true, we as soon as someone makes money, people are like, shush, man, what are you doing now? You know, here it might be a joke, but over there is like, oh, this guy's, it's so funny, man. It's something out of like really ridiculous. It happens. I remember I had a shitty Nissan car, or like really, really shitty car. And when I started working at the university, I got a pump pay. So I said, I'm going to sell my shitty car, and I'm going to buy not even a fancy car, but a Honda Civic, like those old Honda Civic. I always wanted a Honda Civic. And I think it was like 90 something, like really, really, but it was way better from the car that I had. And obviously I lived in the hood, you know, so I was, you know, the area where I lived was, you know, bad. And when I arrived that day with my new car, I was like cleaning it and just, you know, making it look nice and polishing and one of the, you know, those, you can call it hood rats, you know, that just walked by, and he's like, shit, man, new car. What drug are we dealing? He said that to me, you know, because as soon as in Mexico, when someone starts making money, we say, oh, what drug are you selling? You know, like, you must be making good money. And I look at him and I'm like, bro, this is not even a good car. Like, how like, it's not even, this doesn't, if I have a car like this, doesn't mean I have money. Like, but that's how people start, like, straight away noticing. Wow. So I told my mom, I was like, that's why I'm afraid, you know, like, because you make the money, you know, and even people, they started running a lot of scams and a lot of like even kidnapping, when people heard like, oh, he has a family member in the States, he must have money. And they started kidnapping a lot of people in Mexico because they thought, because a family member was in the States
making money,
they can send some good money to pay ransom. Imagine living your day to day like that, man. You learn to cope. Literally, that's, I think you learn to cope. You're like, and life is going so fast that you don't pay attention to that. So that's how I think Mexico kind of like trained me. So whenever something bad happens in my life, it's just like, fuck, okay, we got down. Let's just clean it up and stand up and continue, you know, just suck it up. Just go. You know, there's no other option, you know. Because it happens, you know, it happens like that. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. That's why I say, and I tell my daughter and I tell everybody, my son, I said, you've no idea how lucky, you know, how blessed we are to be, you know, like that, living like that, you know. It's important,
brother. That would explain why you're so resilient. You know, and people kind of understand why is this guy through all the hardships and the struggles you still push through, and now I can understand why, man, because you're Mexican, you're Mexican.
I think everybody has been through a lot. You know, I've never met a person that doesn't have a sad story or a hard situation, but I tell everybody the way that you manage that story is how you're gonna be defined in life. You know, you could lose someone that I remember. This was when was it? A few years ago. One of my workers, one of my boys, he lost his father. He had a heart attack and the father passed away. And he got into the drunk drinking and all that stuff. And I grabbed him, I sat him down, and I'm like, "What are you doing, bro?" And he was like, "Nah, my dad and this and that." And I'm like, "Would your dad love to see you like this?" And I was like, "No, he hated when I drink." And I'm like, "Then why you do it?" "Well, because he's not here." And I'm like, "No, he's here, bro. Trust me, he's here. He's right inside of you. And every time you drink, he gets disappointed because he's inside of you. You're part of him, and he's part of you." And he was like, "But how do I live my life now?" No, making him proud. Stop. Don't mess your life like that. You're gonna regret it. Trust me. This exit that you're taking, it's a very fast one, but it's not the right one. It's a very fast one, but it's not. And he was like, "But I don't know how to deal with the whole thing." And I told him, I'm like, "Don't deal with it. Just focus on yourself. Keep working. Do exercise. Go out. Concentrate. Concentrate on yourself. Then you'll see. Pain's still gonna be there. Pain's still. I'm not gonna lie to you. Still gonna hurt. But you learn to live with it, and you're gonna get through with it, and you'll see that what you're doing right now is not the best." And then he kind of like thought about it, and I say, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And I'm like, "Try it." And yeah, he got better. Boom, boom, boom. He's doing good now. So I said, I think that's one of the things that we need to start teaching here in New Zealand, because I notice it that they don't teach it. They don't. They need to teach that in school and as well at home. You know, parents need to teach their kids like that, and I try to do that with my kids as well. And that's how I realized with my daughter and with my son. I tell them all the time. I was like, "No, you know, you need to go through with it. You know, it's not easy. I know it's hard, but it's not the end of the world. You know, trust me, it's not the end of the world."
It's good, man.
Yeah,
that's good advice. You're right. Our kids need to get used to some hardship because it's part of life, eh?
Yeah,
it's part of life, man.
Yeah. And I know like I said, my mom always told me you have two options. You can either cry about it or do something about it. There's no other option. That's it. And it's true. You have to get yourself up all the time. Because I did a podcast. This was like a few years ago, and we were talking about the benefit and all that stuff. How crazy for me is that? Like, it's in Mexico that doesn't exist. There's no help. The government doesn't help you. Government doesn't help. There's no help at all. You lose your job.
You gotta hustle.
Hustle.
Hey.
That's why the cartels have free demand of workers, bro. The cartels. That's why they thrive over there, because there's no assistance. There's no help. There's no mental health. What is it? Yeah. What? I remember the first time when I was working here at the construction site. We had there's this company called Mates in Construction. And then do a lot of mental health. I was listening, and I was looking around, and I'm like, wow, this is the first time in my life that someone's doing something for mental health. Like, I didn't even know the word. I didn't know what it was. So it was like really shocking to see it, because in Mexico that doesn't exist. I remember it was I was working before I became a teacher. I was working in a call center, and oh man, it's so funny when you think about it. You're like, and crazy at the same time. I don't know. It was like a Saturday. In Mexico, if you Google it, Mexico is in first place of hours of work. So there's the country legally that works the most. So in Mexico, vacations are like this. If you work for any kind of company, you get a week off every year. That's it. Those are your vacations. And then after your second year of work, you get 1 day added. Yeah, man, that's any kind of work. Like, there's no leave, there's no paid leave, there's no sick leave, there's no nothing. If you get sick, you get sick on your own time, or you don't get paid. Yeah, man, like that, exactly like that. And I remember I was working in this call center, and I was very sick, man. I was very, very sick. I had a flu. My voice was really like, and I called my supervisor and I said, "Man, I'm sick. Like, I can't come to work." And he said, "All right, no problem. You just go to the doctor and send me a certificate of." And I was like, "Okay." So it's normal, you know. I took a few days off. It got better, and then when I got my paycheck, I saw a lot of money missing, and I'm like, "Hey." That's when I find out that there was no sick leave. And I thought we got sick leave, and I'm like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Shit, man." I was like, "Damn it." So what happens if I get sick? Don't. That's why my supervisor said, "Don't." He said, "Don't get sick, bro." And I'm like, man. And then I remember I did my whole year at the call center, and I got my vacations, and I got paid for that week that I got off, but I still had to pay taxes on top of the week. So in the end, I ended up like getting half paid for a big, and I was like, man, that's insane. And only 1 day off a week. Working, usually the frame of work over there is 48 hours a week. That's the usual. That's the minimum, actually, not the usual, the minimum. And then just 1 week a year of vacation.
Jeez, man.
So you live like that. And the minimum wage right now in Mexico, it's $600, 600 New Zealand dollars a month.
A month?
Now ask me,
damn,
what can you buy with that?
What can you buy with that?
Nothing.
Damn.
Nothing, man. So imagine a guy that has 3 kids. Exactly like that, man. So there's no way, man. You have to hustle it. You have to, I have 2-3 jobs. I've done that here in New Zealand, and everyone's like, bro, you're crazy. So I was doing the construction work. I was helping my wife with the tacos. That's work. I don't get paid because it's the wife's. She calls it volunteer. And then I was doing the comedy. I was doing the content. I was doing my tattoos. I was doing that. And whenever I had the chance, I would go and work as a bartender and this and that. So, and one of my friends was like, Uzo, you crazy? You're gonna kill yourself. And I'm like, that's how we get taught over there. That you have to. You have no option. But relax. You're fine. You're fine. You're here. He said, you're here. You're fine. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't, man. Like, it's so drilled into my DNA now that I feel weird now that, for example, now that I'm trying to take my time and focus on one thing and this and that. Even my wife feels weird. She's like, man, it's weird to see you with a day off, because for me it was just like nonstop. Yeah, let's go. Boom, 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 boom. So I think that's one of the things that I tell everybody. You're very lucky that New Zealand has that, take advantage of it, not in a bad way, in a good way, thrive through that, so.
Everything you've said tonight has just made me so grateful for this country that we live in. Sometimes to a fault, I think, like you said, with the justice system and some of that. I mean, honestly, going back to that is shocking. I can't believe. I'm still hung up on that, but I was like, damn, man.
Every time I tell that story, I've only told it, I think, 2-3 times, like on public. And everybody's like, I cannot believe that. It's so weird. And even with the immigration stuff that I went through, they were like, oh, man, that's crazy. The reporter that interviewed me, her name is Amanda Gillis, and she was like, I genuinely thought when they told me about this story,
it's a joke.
I thought it was a prank. I couldn't believe it, and I'm like, oh shit, this shit happens. It is what it is. And I don't know. I think New Zealand has the answer for every single issue that they have here. I think they it's pretty like, I don't know. A friend of mine told me about the tall puppy syndrome. That I don't know if it's that, but I think New Zealand has the potential to be. I'm not saying that it should become the United States or Australia, whatever, but if they fix this little issues, man, this country, it's like Finland or Switzerland.
No way.
Everybody knows those countries are amazing, but nobody's dying to move to those countries. They're amazing. They're incredible. They have all these benefits and all that stuff and all the blah, 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 Finland is in first place of paying their doctors and teachers and school and all that stuff and everything. That makes sense to me, So I think this country can do it, because it has that potential to be
that country.
Yeah, man.
That's a good take. I really, really do like that take. You're right. We have the resources and the means to fix this ourselves.
Yeah, man.
It's not like there's someone putting a gun to our head in our country and we're stuck.
Yeah.
We have that potential. So I love that, bro.
Yeah,
that's a very good, honest take.
And I tell everybody, it's like the longer you take to fix those issues, the more difficult it's gonna get. It's gonna get really hard because it's like you're digging the own hole. You're not even going up. You're just going down and down and down and down. So eventually, you're just gonna end up either with a huge, completely in the shit, or you get out yourself, and New Zealand has that potential too, because it's so funny. Going back to the topic of when you know that your family members in the States, they're making shit ton of money. In Mexico, we have that belief, right? If you go to the States, you're going to be rich. All of my friends, one of my friends was like, man, you've been in 8 years in New Zealand, you probably must be like millionaire by now. And I'm like, fuck, man, if he knows that I use Afterpay to buy toothpaste the other day at the chemist. I was like, fucking hell.
You should have said, yeah, I'm a millionaire now.
I was like, because that's the concept that you have, like, if you go to another country,
you're rich.
And I'm like, wow.
Not New Zealand, bro.
I can get KFC every now and then. I can get KFC now and then.
Oh, bro. But man, honestly, it's really made me grateful for New Zealand, and a credit to what you were saying before about the Samoan boy or the Islander boys that were working in you and said, look, I've been here 6 months and get your act together. I mean, it really feels like there is a generation, or maybe there's our people that take it for granted. We don't really know, because I'm one of those guys that haven't really traveled the world. I've been to Australia once, so I don't know what it's like out there in the world. And so hearing about those experiences and the people that you've lost, the story of the girl that had passed away, and you're like, bro, what? And now that's just a common occurrence. The guy who told you, like, yeah, she got killed, chopped up. And it's just like, man, we have no idea. We have no idea, even us that in South Auckland, we have no idea what it's like out there in the world, how hard things actually are, bro. Like, it's freaking wild.
3 years ago, the mother of a friend of mine got killed for $50, bro. She was getting cash out of the ATM. Some kid arrived to steal the money, And you could see the video because, well, I didn't see the video, but my friend told me that they saw the
ATM.
security video. The mom gives the kid the bag and the money and everything, and the kid still shuts her.
Damn.
For fuck $50, bro. I'm like, man, that's not long. Like, yeah, it's just. I was shocked when last time like I said, I went to Mexico. A friend of mine invited me to have a drink, and we went to a bar and this and that, right in the downtown, and I decided to take an Uber to go back to my parents' house because my wife, Guadalajara is divided in 4. You have Zapopan, which is where the rich people and the cartel people live. That's really like posh, kind of like rich area. You got Guadalajara Centro, which is the like the traditional where the colonization happened, and there's a cathedral and all that, like the beautiful stuff that you see. Then you have Tlaquepaque, which is a little bit of like all the touristic stuff to see. My wife is from that area, and I'm from Tonalá. Tonalá is a shithole, so it's literally yeah. So we went to Zapopan to have a few drinks with my friend in the posh area, and that, and I remember pulling up my phone and opening Uber, and when I put the address of my parents' house, the app said, literally the Uber app said, "We don't go there." And I was like, I told my friend, I was like, "Hey, the app says," and I was like, "Oh yeah, they don't go to Tonalá, bro."
To your home city.
And I'm like, the fuck? What's the concept of having Uber here then if they cannot drive me? Like, no, it's too dangerous for them, bro. Because turns out the Ubers that we're driving inside there, they would get jumped.
Killed. Oh.
Damn.
Yeah, they would get jumped and the car's taken and shit. And I'm like, holy shit, man. So what do I do now? And he's like, well, take an Uber, tell them to leave you at the border of your hometown, and then call your dad and tell him to pick you up. And I'm like, shit. And I'm like, nah, you're joking. And yeah, I had to do that. I called my dad, and my dad said, yeah, I'll pick you up at the border. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. In Mexico, you have like here you have the only places that are 24/7 like McDonald's or BP. In Mexico, we have like those like supermarket stores that are 24/7. In my hometown, they get closed, bro. That's how freaking dangerous are things. And I was like, last time I went to Mexico, man, we were supposed to be, I stayed there for a month and a half. By my second week, I was just like, man, I want to go home. I was like, I want to go back to New Zealand, man. I was like, yeah, obviously, like I said, I tell everyone, I love my country. I love it. It pisses me off that it's such a rich country, man. There's such much like the culture, the story, the food, everything is just
beautiful,
perfect, man. Beautiful. There's no place like Mexico, man. I tell it, and it sucks that you cannot enjoy it. Like now, people ask me, "Hey, bro, I want to go to Mexico. Where can I go?" And I'm like, "Fuck, man." Like it got to that point for me. Like I cannot recommend anymore my country, because I don't wanna, like give a bad advice and be like, man, I went there and something happened and this and that. And I'm like, man. I was talking to a friend mine that she's going to Mexico, and then she was telling me, "Oh, I'm gonna rent a car and drive around." And I'm like, "The fuck, you're gonna do that?" And I was like, "No, are you going with Mexicans? Is there gonna be someone with you?" And she was like, "No, just me and my husband. We're gonna." I'm like, no. Buy a tour, get tickets. Get Mexicans to take you. They're the ones where to take you and this and that. And I started giving her all this advice because I was like, no, don't. Just you never know, and you hear all the stories and all that stuff. Now I'm like that. Like it got for me to a point that I even deleted Twitter, bro. I deleted Twitter and Facebook because we used to use Facebook and Twitter to let us know where something bad was happening. So I was part of a lot of groups, And in the groups, they're like, "Oh, there's a shooting over there. Don't go. There's this. There's the armies over there. There's that. There's a blah, blah, blah. Don't go. And there's something happening here. There's blah." So now that I'm here, I was getting all those notifications of like, this is happening. And I'm like, oh man, I had to delete, get out, remove and shit, because it was just messing with. Because I still have all my family's over there. It's just me, my wife, and my kids here. So that's it. It's just us. So it's just like, man, it's hard. So yeah, man. It's crazy.
It makes us grateful for to live in the country, man. But
imagine, I feel like a white person going to Huntley, bro. It's exactly that fear that you have.
Oh, bro, case, man, case. I love your humor, just in the right timing as well, man, bro. Oh man, I tell you, it is. Thank you once again, brother.
No,
also, thank you so much for your time.
I hope I didn't get you to stay up too.
No, man. It was just worthwhile, man. The conversation, what you had to share. Also, as an outsider from Mexico coming to New Zealand and just giving us some good insights, and also some of the things, the social issues and the social injustice, brother, and your dreams and the journey thus far. Like I said before, all the best also in your endeavors, more so this year, but more so in the future as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, looking forward to your Netflix special. Cool to follow.
Hopefully.
Definitely keen to follow you on that journey. And I mean, look at the people you've surrounded yourself with and the changes you've made in your life. And it's like, bro, we're cheering for you.
Yeah,
from us. So all the best, man. If there's anything we can do to help you guys,
man,
then let us know. But
just take me to that strip club that you promised. That was part of the email that you sent.
I'll take it.
Is it happening? Or?
Of course it is, man.
Okay,
of course we're going.
Delete this.
No, but
no,
Ed,
thank you so much.
Ed, no, thank you, Ed. We always have a gift. We always do a cartoon of how we envision our guests to be, brother.
Oh,
every guest that comes on, we always give them the gift. And so, on behalf of the Mandate team, brother.
I thought you were going to give me the dumbbell. I'm like, oh man, that's just a slap in the face.
Everyone thinks that, but hey, this is for you, my friend.
Oh, look at that, man. Nice. Man.
No, we appreciate it.
I look like when Uzgang wakes up. He was laughing. He was really he lost his shit the other day. We did a show with Improvise. He did Honest to Who, the podcast Honest to Who, but he did it live at the Q Theater in town, and he had Uz and Susie Q as his guests, and he had me and Keegan Gonbit as opening, like just to warm up the audience. And I came out and I said, my name is Edd Rivera. I'm Uz's gang stunk double. Fuck, everybody lost their shit. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, man. Oh, man, this is beautiful.
No,
thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I'll show it to the camera.
Thank you,
Look
brother. Thank you. But is there anyone, Ed, that you think this should be an idea to come on the podcast? And you think, you should have this person to come on?
I think, Albin has been doing pretty good. Probably the Hawaiian guy. Mm-hmm. He's doing his hustling right now. I love, he started, like I said, I was already doing content. And when I met him, he wasn't doing any videos. He was just recording and helping Uz and Terrell to do their videos and everything. He started less, I think, not even 2 years. I think I think not even 2 years, and he has amassed a lot of followers and he's doing pretty good. He has a very good concept of what he wants to do with his life and everything. I think Alvin would be really cool. But if not Alvin, I think. Have you had him before? I'm pretty sure Uncle Tix, you've had him before.
No, we haven't.
You need to get Tix, man. I met the guy, and or Terrell or Uz, like any of those guys, man. The vision that they have with the way that they approach the business it's amazing, man. It's like the whole thing. Those are the three guys that I admire right now. Terrell, Us, and Uncle Tix are the ones that I've done videos. I worked with them, and I really, every time I'm with them, I learn something. You know, there's something new. You know, there's a new way to do this. There's a new way to do that, and I think in this times where things are evolving and changing all the time, it's really cool to see someone like thriving like that, and
Nice.
and they're gonna be honestly, I always tell Us, man, you're already up there, man. Fuck, I'll be like you. I really want to see him, you know, either I don't know what he wants to do, if he wants to be a writer, he wants to be a director or an actor, whatever he wants to do. I cannot wait to see what he's gonna come up with, because there's such a raw talent in that. And the best thing is that it's coming from South Oakland, you know, all this raw talent, you know, like it's amazing. I and this is an inspiration for every single kid, you know, whatever you're doing, if you're doing content, if you're doing video, even if you're going to school and you want to be a doctor, my mom always told me this: even if you want to be the guy who sweeps the streets, be the best guy that sweeps. You know, it doesn't matter what you do, be the best. Whatever you want to do, right? Except if you're a drug dealer, don't do that. You know,
Be the best.
drug dealer. Because we already have the best one. It's in Mexico.
Oh man, thanks, Edd Rivera.
Thank you so much.
Oh man, brother, thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe. We look forward to your mouth-to-mouth comments, and as usual, Brad,
Refine
unlock
and take charge.
Band-Aid.